Flashback to when Yeon-u was at the top of the gaming world. He walks into a shady meeting he probably shouldn't be at. The guys waiting for him aren't fans. They're here for the legendary No Mercy. The bearded thug running the show gets straight to the point. His heavy slams a metal case onto the table. Yeon-u stares at it, already knowing what kind of goods they're talking about. It's filled with gold bars. They're offering him 5 times the prize money of the championship he's about to play in. The boss tells him it's for his sister's sake. All he has to do is throw the match. He reaches for the case. Then he slams it shut, hard. The thugs are stunned. He's actually turning down that kind of money. He picks it up by the handle, but he isn't taking it with him. That's when his rival, Volcano, struts into the room with a massive ego. He gets right in Yeon-u's face, telling him to stop being so tense and just take a dive in the finals. He calls him champ with a smug grin, acting like the fix is already in. Yeon-u just heads for the door while the thugs laugh behind his back. Volcano yells for him to see him out there. Yeon-u's got no intention of playing their game. The stadium for the Hero Fighters World Championship is absolutely electric. It's the showdown of the century between the undisputed legend, No Mercy, and the number 2 ranker, Volcano. Inside the game, their avatars are locked in a brutal, high-speed battle. No Mercy moves with insane precision, not giving his opponent an inch. He spots the tiniest opening and prepares to strike. In his chair, Yeon-u is completely in the zone. Volcano just smirks, acting like he's already won. He triggers his ultimate, the Inferno Smash, and it catches No Mercy in a massive blast. His avatar strikes a victory pose, signaling that the fight is over. Volcano even stands up in his booth, ready to celebrate. The crowd is going wild, thinking the king of hero fighters has finally been dethroned. But Yeon-u isn't worried. He's actually got a tiny smile on his face. Volcano's avatar goes in for what should be the finishing blow. This is the moment that's going down in history. Volcano looks down on him, calling him a loser before the final strike lands. Yeon-u's eyes light up. He's been waiting for this. His hands become a total blur on the keyboard as he starts an insane counter-combo. His avatar shreds through the defenses with blinding speed. A massive burst of energy tears across the stage. The audience is left speechless by the sudden turn of events. Volcano stares at his screen in total disbelief as his health bar vanishes. In the shadows, the bearded thug watches his payday disappear. The match is over. No Mercy pulled off the impossible reversal and the crowd explodes. He knew he could have taken the dirty money, but he wasn't about to sell out. He stands under the confetti, holding the trophy he earned with his own 2 hands. Winning mattered more to him. He heads out into the night, waiting for the crosswalk light to turn green. Right after his big win, Yeon-u is on the phone with his sister Soyeon, telling her he's bringing home a cake to celebrate. He promises he'll handle all the hospital bills, completely unaware of the headlights coming at him from the dark. A motorcycle slams right into him while he's distracted by the call. The cake box he was so excited about just tumbles across the asphalt. The city traffic lights just keep on blinking as if nothing happened. Yeon-u is left pinned to the ground, his arm a mangled mess of blood. Paramedics eventually rush to the scene, but the damage to his career is already permanent. Fast forward a few years, and the legend of No Mercy has been buried by the world. Yeon-u is now working as a struggling delivery guy, trying to survive in a cramped apartment complex. Every time he lifts a heavy box, the massive surgical scar on his forearm reminds him of everything he lost. Soyeon watches him from the truck, asking her big brother if he needs any help. He insists he's fine, but she can clearly see the strain he's in. Suddenly, his grip slips. His old injury is acting up at the worst possible time. Boxes go flying as he loses his footing and collapses. He curses his body as he sits on the ground, completely exhausted. Someone holds out one of the dropped boxes. For a second, he thinks it's a helpful stranger. But it's the bearded thug, the same boss who tried to bribe him years ago. He's not here for a chat. He wants the money Yeon-u owes him. The thugs remind him that their clients lost a fortune, because he refused to throw that match. They start beating him down, telling him a nobody like him can't just ignore a debt this massive. Soyeon watches helplessly as the situation spirals out of control. The boss drops a piece of paper, an organ collateral agreement. If he doesn't pay, they're taking his body pieces. He laughs, saying a healthy body like his would fetch a pretty good price on the market. Then they turn their attention to Soyeon, suggesting she might as well share a funeral with her brother. Soyeon whipped her crutch straight at the goon's head. Crippled as she wasn't about to let them push her around. She stands her ground, calling them worthless trash to their faces. The large thug loses his temper and goes to strike her. He can't stand a sick girl talking back to him. But Yeon-u isn't going to let anyone lay a finger on his sister. He lunges forward, shielding her from the blow. The bearded thug lights a cigarette, keeping things strictly business. He decides to let it slide for today, but reminds them of the 5 million won monthly payment. He gives Yeon-u exactly 1 week to come up with the cash. Soyeon shouts after them that she'll have the police arrest them. The boss doesn't even look back. He knows they're stuck. Soyeon immediately checks on her brother, asking if he's hurt. Yeon-u stays silent, weighed down by the thought that he's failing his family. They visit their father's memorial, remembering a time when things were much simpler. Back then, their dad was a taekwondo master, and both kids followed in his footsteps. Soyeon was a prodigy, becoming a national representative at an incredibly young age. But then came the diagnosis that shattered their lives, ALS. Just as her future was beginning, she was given a terminal sentence. The doctor's words are like a death sentence. The disease will slowly rob Soyeon of her ability to move, eat, and eventually breathe. Soyeon collapses during her physical therapy session, her body failing her just as the doctor predicted. Yeon-u looks at the surgical scar on his arm, a permanent reminder of the day his professional career ended. He clenches his fist, refusing to give up on his sister no matter how bleak things look. He makes a silent vow to find a way to keep her alive, no matter the cost. He returns to their small apartment, the weight of the world resting on his shoulders. He researches expensive stem cell treatments online, but the cost is astronomical, over 10 million won a month. He realizes that means he needs to earn over 100 million won a year just to keep her stable. It seems impossible. Suddenly, a notification pops up on his computer screen. It's an email from OzSoft. The message warns him that his No Mercy account will be deactivated due to a full year of inactivity. With a trembling hand, he reaches for his mouse. He hasn't touched the game since the accident. The Hero Fighter's title screen flickers to life, the familiar music filling the quiet room. Yeon-u stares at the screen, a flood of memories washing over him. It feels like a lifetime ago. He logs in to find hundreds of unread messages from fans wondering where their champion went. He looks away from the monitor, unable to face the ghost of his former self. His World Championship trophy sits on a shelf, gathering dust. He spent the last year avoiding anything related to games. He touches the scar on his forearm again. Avoiding the game was the only way he could endure the pain of losing his dream. A direct message pings. It's from a user named Lana asking if he's really back. Lana is ecstatic, saying that her long wait has finally paid off. Yeon-u types back a cold response. He's dead, I quit gaming later. Lana ignores his dismissal and asks if they can do a raid together. Then she sends a message that stops him in his tracks. You need money, don't you? His heart skips a beat. How could she possibly know that? He stares at the screen in shock, his eyes wide as he reads the next message. Lana claims he can make 5 million won in a single day. That's exactly the amount the debt collectors demanded. The number keeps flashing in his mind. 5 million won in a day. Lana tells him she'll explain the details when they meet in person. Yeon-u thinks she's just messing with him, but he can't afford to ignore any lead. He checks the time and realizes he should have gotten some sleep before his night shift. He throws on his delivery vest, preparing to head out into the city once more. He arrives at a high-end district, the bright lights of the luxury buildings a stark contrast to his own neighborhood. He stands before a flashy place called Clubhouse, taking a deep breath before heading inside. He looks around the lobby, feeling completely out of place in his work clothes. A massive club bouncer blocks his path, telling him to use the back entrance if he's making a delivery. Yeon-u tries to explain that he isn't there to deliver anything, but the bouncer isn't listening. The bouncer gets right in his face, threatening to kick his ass if he doesn't leave immediately. Suddenly, a woman in a black dress grabs Yeon-u's arm, pulling him away from the confrontation. The bouncer is stunned as the woman calls out Yeon-u's name. She's Lana, the one who sent him the DM. She apologizes for keeping him waiting. Lana leads him toward the entrance, telling the bouncer that she knew Yeon-u would show up. The bouncer tries to protest, saying a guy like him can't just walk into the VIP section. Lana stops and looks back at him, her expression hardening as she defends her guest. Lana clings to Yeon-u's arm, mocking the bouncer for not recognizing the man standing right in front of him. She reveals his true identity, Han Yeon-u, the legendary No Mercy, the undisputed GOAT of hero fighters. In a flash of memory, No Mercy's avatar stands victorious amidst the wreckage of his opponents, a titan of the digital arena. The stadium had roared for him back then, celebrating a true legend of the esports world. A younger Lana was there in the stands, her eyes wide with admiration as she cheered for her hero. She had been a witness to his final match, the very last time he stood on that professional stage. Back in the present, Lana notes that Yeon-u seems to have recovered well from the injury that forced his retirement. Yeon-u simply listens, his expression unreadable as he sips his drink. When asked why he's drinking milk in a club, he bluntly states that he still has work to do. He has no time for the carefree fun the people around him are enjoying. His reality is far more demanding. Lana pulls out her phone with a flourish, ready to show him the potential of her proposal. She shows him a completed transaction for 5 million won, proof that huge sums of money are changing hands. She promises that with his unmatched skills and her information, they can make a literal fortune together. Yeon-u is skeptical, assuming she's just talking about the same old high-stakes item trading. He turns to leave, telling her it's useless because he can no longer manage the precise hand controls required. He shows her the scar on his forearm, the permanent mark of the accident that stole his dexterity. Lana points out that the gaming world has evolved beyond the old-fashioned way of playing with hands. She drops a figure that makes him stop dead in his tracks, 500 million won. She explains that the item drop from the boss Kian in the beta version is expected to sell for that astronomical amount. The game he once conquered has been reborn as something entirely new and far more immersive. Across the city, massive screens announce the arrival of Hero Fighters VR version. This new reality features visceral combat where players are truly part of the action. The era of playing with just your hands is over. Now, players step inside the game and fight with their entire being. Han Yeon-u knows one thing for sure, no matter how much times change. Talent never does. He's staring at an offer of 500 million won just for playing a game. Sounds too good to be true. But that kind of cash would wipe out his debt to those thugs and finally take care of Soyeon's medical bills. The club is pumping as the DJ keeps the party going. Yeon-u reached out and teased Lana, asking if she used to be one of his fans. Yeon-u just gives her a quick head pat and tells her he's going to show her what real gaming looks like. As they head out, he asks about this VR thing. Lana tells him he'll get the hang of it once they're in. After all, it's still Hero Fighters. Inside the game, they're facing Kian. Most players think this boss is literally impossible to solo. The chat is losing it, saying some newbie who only started 10 days ago is actually trying to pull it off. But it's not a newbie, it's No Mercy, and he's finally back. The way he moves is a dead giveaway. There's no mistaking that legendary playstyle. Spectators are in shock. Nobody solos Kian. Even in the real world, Yeon-u is perfectly in sync with every move his avatar makes. If it's the No Mercy they all remember, Kian might actually go down today. With one massive strike, he splits the boss right down the middle. The entire arena goes wild. He actually cleared the beta solo. People are shocked. Nobody could beat this thing in 6 months, and he did it in 10 days. Lana watches from the sidelines, looking pretty pleased with her new recruit. The massive body of the boss starts to crumble into pixels. And then comes the payday. A massive wave of loot drops from the sky. Every single piece is ultra-rare, glowing with that sweet purple light. The spectators are already calling him a total monster for the full release. Yeon-u stands there, staring at the 500 million won that's going to fix everything. He takes a step toward the pile, but then he notices something small lying on the ground. It's a rusted ring, looks like total junk compared to everything else. He picked it up, finding it strange that it didn't drop alongside all that flashy loot. Lana and the others yell at him to hurry up and grab the goods before they vanish. People in the chat are estimating the haul at 500 million, while others think it could easily hit 700. Yeon-u reaches out, thinking this is finally the end of all the misery. But his hand just stops. He tries to move, but nothing happens. Digital glitches start crawling up his arm, exactly like the physical trauma he deals with in real life. Warning symbols flash everywhere as his arm completely freezes, leaving his salvation just inches away. Yeon-u's avatar hand freezes right before it can grab the loot. Huh, why won't it move? The digital hand starts flickering uncontrollably. What? An error alarm blares through the system as the game begins to crash. Back in the real world, Yeon-u sits in the VR pod, stunned as his interface dies. He falls to his knees on the glowing platform. Hey, what the hell is this? He desperately taps at the floating warning signs, but the screen is dead. It's completely frozen. He rips off his headset and looks around for his partner. Hey, Lana. A staff member tells him that Lana took off quite a while ago. Yeon-u tries to call her, but it goes straight to voicemail. He keeps dialing her name, but there's no answer. He realizes Lana played him for the 500 million won worth of items. Don't tell me. The thought hits him hard. She really ran off with everything. He sprints through the city, still trying to reach her, but the number is out of service. He clenches his phone, realizing he's been scammed by a pro. That damn con artist. He's so focused on catching her that he doesn't see the hit coming. Gah! Suddenly, the debt collectors he was trying to pay off have him cornered. They drag him to a dark, isolated warehouse. The bearded thug boss and his crew surround him on the cold concrete. You've got a lot of nerve disappearing on me like that. The boss grabs Yeon-u by his hair, pulling his bloodied face up. I played that damn game just to make money. The boss just smirks and adjusts his sunglasses. Speaking of that game, he looms over Yeon-u, blaming him for the failed deal. You ruined my operation because of that stunt. A heavy boot slams into Yeon-u's face. Bring me the money. Yeon-u lies broken on the ground as the boss reminds him of their deal. If he can't pay in cash, he pays with his body. The boss lights a cigarette and mentions his new side hustle, organ trafficking. He gestures toward a back room where a man is wheeling in a gurney. Oh, but your body alone won't be enough. Yeon-u looks up and sees the person on that gurney. It's Soyeon. The boss coldly explains he's taking her eyes since they're in good condition. Yeon-u is kicked back, screaming in desperation. You've got to be kidding me. He tries to crawl toward her, clutching his scarred arm in pain. NGH. One of the thugs steps in and slams his head back down into the floor. They keep at it, leaving Yeon-u coughing up blood. The boss hauls him back up and pulls out a knife. Don't you dare underestimate me. He drives the blade into Yeon-u's stomach, over and over. The boss pulls back, looking at his blood-soaked hands. Damn it, did we go too far? Yeon-u stares blankly as the world fades, whispering his sister's name. The boss realizes Yeon-u's organs are worthless now, and orders his men to prep the surgery room for Soyeon. Outside, the moon shines down on the grim scene. Yeon-u lies in a growing pool of his own blood, barely clinging to life. Soyeon. He looks at Soyeon one last time, heartbroken that he couldn't protect her. Suddenly, a streak of blue light tears through the roof of the warehouse. It strikes the ground with a sharp metallic clang. A small, rusted ring rolls across the concrete and stops right in front of Yeon-u's face. A small band of metal sits on the floor. That's... It's the rusted ring from the game, the item he grabbed right before the glitch. Yeon-u lies in his own blood, laughing at the irony. Even as he's dying, he can't escape his regrets. It's come to this. He wished he was seeing those high-tier assets Lana stole instead of this junk. His trembling hand reaches out for the worthless ring. His eyes start to drift shut. He drags his blood-slicked arm toward the metal band. Seriously. What a miserable life it's been. Suddenly, the ring begins to crackle with an intense red energy. Red lightning erupts from the ring, striking his hand. The power surges through his veins, blindingly bright. The ring shatters and fuses directly into his finger. Nearby, Soyeon remains unconscious on the operating table. The surgeon lifts his scalpel to the light. The bearded thug boss warns him to be careful with the eyes. Don't damage them. The doctor prepares to make the first cut, but a heavy crash stops him. The boss spins around, sensing something is very wrong. Thugs are sent flying like paper as someone enters the room. Yeon-u walks through the smoke, wreathed in a terrifying red aura. The gang is stunned. Who the hell is that? The boss can't believe his eyes. Han Yeon-u. They thought they'd finished him off, but he's walking toward them. One thug notices his eyes are glowing with a digital pattern. Boss, those eyes aren't normal. A thug swings a heavy wooden beam, screaming at him to say something. Yeon-u doesn't flinch. He throws a single punch that shatters the beam and the man's face. The guy screams as blood sprays everywhere. Gah! Yeon-u keeps walking, stepping right over the body. The rest of the gang charges at him, weapons drawn. He catches a punch effortlessly and counters with a bone-shattering blow. He's moving like a blur, tearing through them before they can even react. They scream for him to die, but they're just fodder for his new strength. The ring on his finger pulses with every hit. It's a massacre. He dismantles the entire gang in seconds. Yeon-u stands in the middle of the carnage, his aura flaring. The boss pulls out a knife, his hands shaking. No way. He lunges forward in a desperate, final attempt to kill the boy. Die. Yeon-u meets him head-on with a strike that shatters his defense. The boss is sent flying across the room, blood trailing in the air. Grah. He coughs up blood, staring in horror at the monster he created. What the hell is this guy? Yeon-u looks down at him coldly. Yes, these eyes. He relishes the feeling of them trembling. Gives me chills. Yeon-u's fist, glowing with an intense red light, stops inches from the thug's face. W8, hey. The thug, bloodied and terrified, begs for his life. PPP, please, help me. Yeon-u's expression is cold, his eyes glowing. Tough luck. A pillar of energy erupts from his strike, obliterating everything in its path. I have never once shown mercy. He stands amidst the destruction, surrounded by a dark, swirling aura. To those who dare stand against me. The world begins to fade and blur. Yeon-u looks confused, the light dimming. He clutches his head in pain as the vision shifts. NGH. He finds himself in a void, gasping for air. Ha, ha. He looks around at the white expanse. Where am I? He checks his body, surprised to find it intact. Is my body okay? A man stands in the distance, a familiar figure in a white dabak. Han-father smiles warmly. Been a while, Yeon-u. Yeon-u is frozen in disbelief. W8. He lunges forward, throwing his arms around the man. Dad. He clings to his father, tears streaming down his face. His voice is a choked whisper. I missed you. Han-father gently pats his head. I've put a lot on your shoulders, I'm sorry. Yeon-u wipes his eyes, still sobbing. But Soyeon's still hanging in there. Han-father promises to watch over her. His father's expression turns serious. You must protect the eternal ring. Yeon-u is confused. The ring. Han-father's eyes begin to glow with a menacing red light. They'll be here soon. His father's face begins to crackle with digital glitches. To take what's yours. Yeon-u panics as his father begins to transform. Huh. A red light flares from his hand. The ring. A terrifying, glitching figure towers over him. Don't forget. No way, Yeon-u shouts. The figure is Kyan, grinning from within the glitch. If you don't want to get devoured. A mass of dark energy looms over them. Then you need to devour everything first. Yeon-u screams as the darkness consumes him. He snaps back to reality, bolting upright with a gasp. UWAAH. He finds himself back in the warehouse, the ceiling torn open. Ha, ha. A massive trench has been carved into the floor, leading out into the distance. He clutches his head, his mind reeling. Was that a dream? He looks at his hand, the rusted ring still firmly on his finger. What the hell? He looks around and sees a body lying on the ground. Just happened to me. It's the bearded thug boss, his face a bloodied, mangled mess. Yeon-u scrambles back in horror. UWAAH. He looks at the carnage around him, bodies of thugs scattered everywhere. No way. He stares at the ring, the realization hitting him. This rusted ring, it was all real. He looks deep into the ring's reflection. No, the eternal ring. When I'm wearing this, I can feel it clearly. It's like I'm not the real me. Like I've become no mercy inside the game. This insane energy coursing through my whole body feels like I can do anything. A faint voice calls out to him. Big brother, Yeon-u gasps, remembering Soyeon. Yeon-u snaps out of his daze and scans the ruined warehouse, his eyes wide with panic. Soyeon. He finds her lying unconscious on a gurney, her face pale. Are you okay? NGH, she moans weakly. An overhead shot shows Yeon-u sprinting out of the warehouse, carrying his sister on his back through the debris. He clenches his teeth, running with everything he has. Stay with me. Soyeon's breathing is shallow and labored. I can't breathe. What? Yeon-u gasps in horror. A surge of red energy flares around him again as his desperation peaks. Damn it, I've got to get her to a hospital fast. He moves like a blur, a trail of red light marking his path through the city streets. Soyeon, just hang on a little longer. Back at the warehouse, a pair of feet stops beside the mangled face of the bearded thug boss. A brilliant aura flared around him as he spoke. Finally found you. A mysterious figure steps over the body, a cold smirk on their face as they roll a lollipop in their mouth. No mercy. Toyo General Hospital stands silhouetted against a darkening sky. Soyeon is hooked up to monitors and an oxygen mask, her condition critical. Yeon-u sits by her bedside, his hand, still bearing the eternal ring, trembling as he holds hers. He looks down at his sister, the weight of the night's events finally crashing down on him. Soyeon. A doctor enters the room, clutching a clipboard. Are you family of Han Soyeon? Yes, Yeon-u stands immediately. Her breathing seems really rough. Is she okay? As for her current condition, the doctor begins tentatively. The doctor's face is grim. She's having repeated cardiac arrest. Her brainstem function has also dropped severely. Yeon-u watches his sister struggle, her eyes fluttering beneath the mask. How could this? I've never seen ALS progress this fast before. The doctor's words feel like a death sentence. Tonight will be the critical point. You should prepare yourself, just in case. Shock freezes Yeon-u where he stands as the doctor issues orders to a nurse. Hey, can you check ICU availability? Rage suddenly replaces the shock. Yeon-u lunges forward, seizing the doctor's white coat in a tight grip. Prepare myself, that's what a doctor says to a family member. He snarls. The nurse panics. Please calm down. The doctor yells back, matching Yeon-u's intensity. You really think you have any right to be angry? What did you say? Yeon-u shouts. The doctor points to the charts. We found a large amount of illegal substances in her blood. That's what caused her condition to worsen this time. Yeon-u stands stunned as the truth of the thug's cruelty sinks in. For things to get this bad. The doctor continues, his voice trailing off as the chapter ends. Yeon-u's blood boils as he realizes the thugs didn't just kidnap his sister. They filled her with toxic drugs before he even arrived. The doctor tries to calm him down, telling him he can explain everything to the police once they get there. Yeon-u is in total shock. He can't get the medical diagnosis out of his head. It's all his fault. He collapses on the floor next to Soyeon's bed. He let himself get blinded by the promise of easy money and failed the one person he was supposed to protect. Looking at her pale face, he feels completely lost. He calls out for his dad, desperate for some kind of guidance. A vision of Han Sung-min appears, his body flickering with digital glitches. He tells Yeon-u he has to protect something called the Eternal Ring. Yeon-u snaps out of it and looks down at the ring on his finger. He realizes his dad is right. This ring literally brought him back from the edge of death and healed every single wound on his body. If it could save him, then there's a chance it can save Soyeon too. He desperately tries to slide the ring off his finger. But it won't budge. It's fused to his skin, glowing with a weird digital light as he pulls. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes through the hospital. A patient is on the floor and the staff is shouting for a reattachment team. The hallway turns into a nightmare as more mangled people are wheeled in. One guy is missing half a leg. The trauma team is completely overwhelmed, screaming for blood bags as more victims flood the ER. Yeon-u's attention is caught by a breaking news alert flashing on the screen. The reporter is describing a series of bizarre incidents happening simultaneously across the city. They show a skyscraper with a perfect, glowing hole carved right through the middle of it. At the same time, the police found a pile of shredded bodies back at the game venue where Yeon-u fought the thugs. Pictures of flipped cars littering the streets start popping up on the news feed. Yeon-u watches in disbelief, realizing the chaos from the game is actually happening in the real world. A sudden shrill scream from outside snaps him back to reality. He bolts out of the hospital to see what's going on. He finds a crowd of people running for their lives, looking like they just saw a ghost. While everyone else is fleeing, Yeon-u stands his ground, staring into the chaos. A massive roar shakes the entire street, drowning out the sound of the panic. In the middle of the road, a huge guy in a pink anime shirt is casually wrecking cars with a massive black hammer. Yeon-u freezes. He knows that weapon, it shouldn't even exist outside of a monitor. The guy swings it again with a laugh, looking like he's having the time of his life. It's the destruction hammer, a legendary item that gets more powerful with every single hit. The hammer wielder stops and looks directly at Yeon-u, calling out his name. He's not just looking for a random guy, though. He calls him by his legendary handle, No Mercy. Yeon-u is stunned. If this guy has a legendary item, it means the glitch is way bigger than just one ring. Yeon-u realized he wasn't the only one. There were other game items in the real world now. Hammer Man stood over him, looking like a total joke in his pink anime fan shirt. Yeon-u's eyes widened. He definitely knew that girl on the shirt. It was Lana. The big guy didn't care about reunions, swinging his massive block of a hammer with all his weight. Yeon-u braced himself just in time. The impact was insane, cracking the pavement and sending a pillar of light into the sky. The force of the strike was enough to level a building. Yeon-u slid back, his arms crossed to shield his face from the debris. As the dust settled, he was still standing, much to the big guy's surprise. The thug just laughed, mocking Yeon-u's tiny ring and telling him he'd be taking it soon. Yeon-u didn't find it funny, demanding to know who this freak even was. The guy smirked. Turns out, he was a hardcore fan of No Mercy. A few days back, he'd been watching No Mercy's legendary boss run on a live stream. He was hanging out with his buddies, complaining about how they couldn't even scratch the boss's health. They watched as No Mercy completely dominated the fight. But right at the climax, the game glitched out and froze. Panic ensued as accounts were wiped, and the players lost everything they'd worked for. But while he was panicking over his gear, a literal portal ripped open in the ceiling of his room. He was still on the phone with his friends when the sky started falling. A beam of light shot down, bringing something from the digital world into his hands. He stared in disbelief at the object. It was the destruction hammer, his own high-level item from Hero Fighters. Back in the present, he explains that he and his friends weren't the only ones lucky enough to get drops. Yeon-u realized he was right. The world was about to get a lot more dangerous. While he was distracted, a pair of massive mechanical arms shot out from the shadows. Before he could react, the gauntlets clamped down on him, pinning his arms to his sides. The gauntlet fan stepped out, a lean guy with glasses holding him in a weirdly close grip. These were the Titan gauntlets, designed to crush anything they caught into dust. With the target locked down, Hammer Man charged in to deliver the finishing blow. Yeon-u struggled, but the mechanical grip was too strong to break by normal means. He looked at the hospital building right behind him. If he dodged, the strike would hit the building and Soyeon would be in danger. The hammer glowed with energy as the big guy lunged forward. Yeon-u's left eye flared red as his combat instincts took full control. He didn't just pull away, he shattered the mechanical gauntlets into pieces. The thug holding him could only stare in shock as his gear fell apart. Yeon-u didn't waste a second, moving like a flash of lightning through the air. He grabbed both of them and slammed them together in a brutal collision. Their heads knocked together with a sickening thud. He tossed them aside like they were nothing but trash. They crashed into the street, leaving a crater where they landed. Standing over his fans, Yeon-u's fist pulsed with power. He looked down at them with cold eyes, wondering why they'd pick a fight with him if they really were his fans. Yeon-u asked how they expected to win with such trash gear. He didn't just dodge the hammer, he blasted through the attack with a shockwave of his own. His eyes burned with an intense, predatory light. He drove a fist straight through the mechanical gear, shattering it like glass. The resulting explosion of force sent the thugs flying backwards. But just as he thought he was clear, a new, massive energy signature appeared above. A purple dimensional rift tore open, and a figure descended in a pillar of light. The shockwave from the landing sent Yeon-u tumbling across the pavement. The newcomer landed with perfect grace, looking down at the chaos with a confident smirk. He was decked out in legendary loot, starting with the dimensional emblem, a bracelet that could tear through space itself. He also wore the flash battle boots, which allowed the user to move with explosive acceleration. Volcano looked at his old rival, calling him by his real name for the first time. Yeon-u pulled himself out of the rubble, his hand reaching out from the debris. He couldn't believe who was standing right in front of him. Volcano taunted him, nodding that he should at least say hello after all this time. The arrogant champion asked if that last hit had rattled his brain too much to recognize him. Yeon-u's head was clearer than ever, but he realized he'd been fighting with just a crappy ring while his rival had legendary gear. Even the other thugs were in awe of the insane power level Volcano was sporting. Volcano's grin widened, the obsession with defeating No Mercy bubbling to the surface once more. He claimed his items were on a whole different level as he powered up his legendary boots. In a flash of purple energy, Volcano launched himself at his rival. Yeon-u barely had time to process the sheer speed of the incoming attack. Volcano slammed into the ground where Yeon-u had been a second before, shattering the pavement. The air itself seemed to crack under the pressure of his lightning-fast movements. Volcano mocked him, asking if he really wanted what belonged to others that badly. Yeon-u's gaze hardened as he prepared to show exactly why he was feared. Volcano's eye twitched with anticipation for the final blow. Yeon-u lunged forward, a crimson aura flaring around his body as he finally fought back. A single, lethal slash cut right through the champion's legendary defenses. Volcano gasped in agony as blood sprayed from the deep wound across his chest. He crumpled to the ground, his high-tier armor failing to protect him from Yeon-u's precision. Yeon-u didn't linger. He knew he was running out of time and needed to get Soyeon to safety. The two thugs watched from the side, completely paralyzed by the sudden turn of events. Yeon-u shot them a cold look, telling them to get lost while they still had their lives. Hammer Man and Gauntlet Fan were confused, not realizing the threat was far from over. Yeon-u suddenly sensed something behind him and turned back, his eyes widening in shock. Volcano was standing back up, looking completely unbothered by the lethal strike he'd just taken. He told Yeon-u not to get ahead of himself as a soft, divine glow began to emanate from his chest. It was the breath of Helia, a holy relic that granted its wearer near-instant regeneration. The necklace pulsed with light, knitting the champion's flesh back together in seconds. Yeon-u watched in silence, seeing that not a single scar was left from his attack. He knew it was a top-tier healing item, but seeing it work in reality was absolutely insane. Yeon-u asked why Volcano even bothered carrying so many items. Volcano just stuck his tongue out with a manic grin, admitting he was simply greedy. He explained that his teammates knew about his greed, so they had offered their items up to him. Yeon-u realized that just like in the game world, his opponents here would drop their items when defeated. Volcano looked confused as his two subordinates hesitated to follow his lead. Yeon-u's thoughts were elsewhere. He was already planning how he could use these items to cure any illness. With a cold, determined glare, Yeon-u declared that he would be taking every last item Volcano possessed. His ring pulsed with a violent red energy as he thought about the sister he needed to save. The breath of Helia was a holy relic that massively boosted vitality and regeneration, exactly what Soyeon needed. Yeon-u knew that with an item like that in his possession, he might finally be able to save her life. His resolve was absolute. He would take everything for the sake of his sister, Soyeon. Volcano ground his teeth in frustration, feeling the mounting pressure of Yeon-u's presence. The other thugs were terrified, wondering if a ring with that much power had even existed in the original game. Volcano snapped at them not to chicken out, reminding them that with 5 items between them, the odds were in their favor. A dark, thick aura began to swirl around Yeon-u's hand, manifesting his inner power. Even from a distance, the sheer weight of the aura made Volcano break out in a cold sweat. Volcano tried to keep his composure, but he could feel the air itself growing heavy. Yeon-u told him he was the one who didn't understand the situation as he prepared his next move. A massive collision of power shook the entire parking structure, shattering the ground beneath them. Volcano's gear pulsed with high-tier energy as he tried to withstand the raw force of the impact. A pillar of dark energy shot into the sky, dwarfing the surrounding city buildings. Hammer Man and Gauntlet Fan could only watch in terror as the street was completely torn apart by the clash. Volcano was launched high into the air by the force of the blast, trailing purple sparks. He couldn't wrap his head around what kind of item could produce such a devastating shockwave. As the thick smoke began to clear, the extent of the destruction was revealed. Volcano's eyes widened in disbelief as he realized the true gap in their respective strengths. Hammer Man lay broken in the rubble, his oversized hammer discarded and useless beside him. Gauntlet Fan called out to his boss in a panic, seeing how easily his partner had been neutralized. Yeon-u grabbed the lean thug by the neck, asking if this was the item, drop, they were so eager for. Volcano screamed in a fit of rage, his pride as a champion shattered by the insult. He roared that this wasn't a game and told Yeon-u not to underestimate a true top ranker. He activated the Dimensional Emblem's ultimate skill, Dimension Storm, tearing open the fabric of reality. Yeon-u watched with a mix of surprise and curiosity as multiple portals appeared in the air. In a blur of purple light, Volcano began to move instantaneously between the rifts. He launched a lightning-fast kick from one of the portals, attempting to catch Yeon-u off guard. Volcano became a purple streak, blinking in and out of existence as he transitioned through the portals. He dove down for a finishing blow, shouting that Yeon-u was 100 years too early to steal his gear. From every direction at once, Volcano rained down a barrage of high-speed strikes using the portal network. He claimed that all the legendary gear in the world belonged only to him, as he delivered a final, powerful kick. But Yeon-u caught the attack bare-handed, mocking the idea that the items truly belonged to a thief. Volcano's face twisted in manic rage, his mind unable to process how his ultimate attack had been stopped. He spat out a broken stick, blaming Yeon-u for making him into the desperate monster he had become. In a bitter flashback, a frustrated Volcano demanded to know why Han Yeon-u was the only one ever receiving any recognition from the public. The bearded thug showed him a photo of Yeon-u's shattered, bloody hand, boasting that he'd already lined up something far more satisfying than a championship trophy. The boss vowed that Yeon-u would continue to pay for ruining his business interests for as long as he lived. To Volcano, this meant that the obstacle in his path was finally gone and his time to shine had arrived. With a malicious smirk, he licked a lollipop and declared that the age of Volcano was about to begin. He believed that in a professional gaming world without no mercy, he would become the undisputed #1. His in-game character crushed opponent after opponent with the word "finish" flashing across the screen in constant victory. But even as he stood atop the podium as the new champion, the ghost of No Mercy's reputation continued to haunt him. Volcano had always played dirty, making sure to hedge his bets by using the bearded thug's underhanded methods. Yet despite his technical wins, he knew deep down that he could never truly become a legendary GOAT like Yeon-u. Speeding through the city in his car, Volcano cursed the bastards, who refused to give him the adoration he felt he was owed. Every time he checked his phone, the gaming community was still comparing his playstyle to the effortless genius of No Mercy. On streaming sites, hosts openly discussed how No Mercy's gameplay had been on a completely different level compared to Volcano's. Without the greatest star in the world to drive the hype, the popularity of the game itself began to rapidly decline. News headlines mocked his success, noting that while Volcano kept winning, the esports viewership ratings were disappointing. Fans lamented the loss of No Mercy, and Volcano ground his teeth as he read that esports was dying without its true hero. Volcano felt like the entire world was dumping the blame for the industry's failure squarely on his shoulders. Even as he held another trophy aloft, the whispers continued to suggest that his time had ended the same day No Mercy's did. Eventually, the champion was reduced to a joke in the eyes of the public, always the lesser player. People openly called him a jerk and compared him unfavorably to the far more likable No Mercy, fueling his building rage. In a moment of pure fury, he smashed a window, screaming at the unseen critics to stop their constant comparisons. He recalled being told that a gamer's hands were everything, only to realize that those hands no longer mattered in the new world. That was when he discovered the VR version of the game, a place where he could finally escape the past. He looked toward a future where he could finally stand alone at the top, in a field where No Mercy had never left a single fingerprint. Volcano spent months of his life and rallied every gamer he knew just to beat one game. He was right there at the front of the raid, screaming for his team to finish off the boss, Kyan. But Kyan was a literal wall, an absurdly strong final boss that no one could get past. The monster didn't even consider them a threat, just lesser beings to be swatted away. It was a one-sided slaughterhouse that promised a brutal end for any player involved. After failing, Volcano was convinced the game was just broken garbage that was impossible to beat. But then he heard the name that would haunt him for the rest of his career, No Mercy. The whole community was losing it because someone had actually cleared the boss in just 1 week. No Mercy became a legend overnight by achieving what the pros couldn't even touch. Volcano was stunned, unable to wrap his head around how anyone could be that good. Back in the present, he's unloading a storm of purple energy, trying to prove the genius tag doesn't mean anything anymore. He goes for a high-speed kick, boasting that he has a power no one else in the world possesses. Yeon-u just reaches out and catches the foot midair like it's absolutely nothing. Volcano's face goes pale as Yeon-u mocks him for constantly whining about geniuses. Yeon-u doesn't let up, launching a kick while asking Volcano if he really thought that was enough to win. Volcano's eyes go wide as he realizes the kid is actually coming for him. A solid hit connects, sending Volcano flying backward across the hospital roof. He crashes hard, his body leaving a trail of broken concrete in his wake. Floating midair, Volcano starts to panic, knowing one more hit like that will kill him before he can heal. He gets desperate and activates his wrist item, calling himself the ruler of space to try and regain control. Volcano pauses for a split second, clearly confused by a sudden flash of light. Yeon-u punches right through the dimensional barrier, finding his target instantly and taunting him. Yeon-u isn't impressed by the space warping tricks and keeps the pressure on. He slams his fist forward, telling Volcano that he's the one who wrecked his space. Volcano is blasted straight down, screaming as he's completely overwhelmed. The impact is massive, cratering the roof and kicking up a huge cloud of debris. Volcano lies defeated in the rubble, barely holding on as smoke rises from the impact site. His healing factor kicks in, a special regenerative ability that starts knitting his broken flesh back together. Yeon-u walks toward the hole where the villain is lying. Volcano groans that they weren't all that different. Lying there defeated, Volcano admits that when it came to understanding game items, Yeon-u always had the edge. Yeon-u looks down at him, explaining that while Volcano was playing pro for the fame, he was practicing like his life depended on it. He holds up his hand, saying the real reason he's stronger is because he actually has someone to protect. Yeon-u stands tall, nodding that his desperation is what made him a genius. Volcano can only mutter about his lost items. He leans in close, telling Volcano that if there really is a difference between them, it's definitely their looks. Yeon-u flashes a confident grin while holding the loot he just swiped. That taunt snaps something in Volcano. He starts glowing with a terrifying, jagged purple energy. Volcano screams in a rage, vowing to take that precious desperation and crush it. He decides to turn everything into pure despair. He unleashes the Void Vortex, a mid-boss ultimate ability that creates a massive black hole on the roof. Yeon-u stares in horror as the destructive energy begins to spiral out of control. The vortex starts tearing the building apart, and Yeon-u realizes Soyeon is right in the path of the disaster. He demands Volcano stop the spell, but the villain just smirks. It's already beyond his control. Volcano mocks him one last time, asking if he should really be wasting time talking while his sister is in danger. The roof starts collapsing as the black hole drags everything into the abyss. Soyeon's hospital bed is pulled toward the center of the vortex, and Yeon-u screams out her name. He turns back in shock, seeing that someone else has joined the chaos. The black hole grows even larger, consuming concrete and medical gear alike. A voice cuts through the roaring wind, shouting for attention. Yeon-u spots a familiar face holding onto his sister's gurney amidst the wreckage. It's Lana. She yells at him to get it together because his sister is still alive and right there. Soyeon is precariously balanced on the edge of a crumbling floor as the building breaks apart. Yeon-u kicks off the ground, putting every ounce of strength into one final move. He sprints toward the center of the disaster, focused entirely on saving Soyeon. Lana struggles to hold the bed steady as the building continues to disintegrate around them. Soyeon remains unconscious, unaware that her life is hanging by a thread. Yeon-u bellows at Lana not to dare let go as he makes his desperate leap. Lana holds onto the hospital bed, shouting for Yeon-u to wait while the world crumbles around them. She yells at him to leave his sister to her, urging him to focus on the freak who unleashed this chaos. Gritting her teeth, Lana feels the strain, wondering how she can possibly protect Soyeon in this mess. She realizes her only choice is to burn through her own items to boost her strength and stay in the fight. A massive surge of energy flows through her, pushing her physical capabilities to their absolute limit. Her earrings, the Abyss Fragment, glow with a psychic aura, sharpening her perception and focus. Yeon-u is stunned by the transformation, never realizing Lana possessed such high-tier items. Lana screams that there's no time for questions. Everyone in the hospital will be consumed if they don't move. Yeon-u stares into the heart of the swirling black hole, his mind searching for any way to stop it. Lana reminds him of their days in Hero Fighters VR, nodding they've seen this exact threat before. He recognizes the spell. It's the ultimate annihilation move of the mid-boss Cronian. The truth clicks into place. Volcano's item was a drop from that boss, and he's playing it like a game. Yeon-u recalls their old strategy. They always ended the fight before the boss could finish casting. He curses Volcano for being reckless enough to unleash such a world-ending power in reality. The roof is disintegrating into the void, and the villain has already slipped away into the chaos. Yeon-u knows there's only one shot. He has to strike the dead center of the black sphere. The stakes are fatal. If he misses the core, he'll be sucked into the void and it's game over for everyone. For Soyeon's sake, and the safety of the hospital, he doesn't hesitate to take the suicidal gamble. Lana screams his name as he lunges into the swirling vortex, betting his life on a single blow. Yeon-u propels himself through the air, heading straight into the epicenter of the magical storm. He channels every bit of his aura into a devastating punch, connecting directly with the core of the void. A massive shockwave ripples outward as Yeon-u lets out a roar of absolute effort. The center of the vortex glows with a blinding intensity as it starts to destabilize and collapse. Yeon-u's face is a mask of pure, unyielding determination as he fights against the crushing pressure. The energy finally hits its limit, exploding and rocking the entire hospital to its foundation. As the floor falls out from under them, Lana desperately clings to the gurney, trying to hold on. But the rubble gives way, leaving Lana and the bed with nothing to stand on. She looks down in terror, her eyes wide as the floor beneath her vanishes into the abyss. Soyeon and the gurney begin to plummet into the wreckage, and Lana can only scream in despair. Time seems to slow down as she watches the void open up to consume them both. Lana panics, certain that a fall from this height will be the end for all of them. In her final moments of hope, she calls out to Yeon-u, praying for a miracle. Yeon-u catches the gurney mid-fall, his grip firm as he stabilizes them in the air. He looks at Lana, reminding her that he told her never to let go of the bed. Lana stares back, her face flushed with a mix of relief and the sheer horror of their near-death experience. Once they hit the ground safely, Lana throws her arms around him, sobbing that she really thought she was dead. Yeon-u lets her lean on him for a moment, gently patting her head as she tries to stop shaking. They find themselves in the hospital courtyard, with Soyeon's gurney finally resting on solid ground. Lana was struggling to hold back her tears and regain her composure, but Yeon-u shoved her face aside. Yeon-u doesn't have time for a break. He clutches the legendary healing item, focused only on saving his sister. Yeon-u ran ahead, shouting for her to hurry up and follow while the coast was still clear. She grits her teeth with a worried look, telling him not to run off and do something reckless on his own again. Outside the facility where they've taken refuge, the night is quiet despite the chaos that just unfolded. Inside, Soyeon lies unconscious on a bed, the breath of Helia glowing on her chest as it begins its work. Han Yeon-u watches over her with a look of intense worry, remembering the doctor's grim warning that tonight is the critical point. Lana approaches him, offering a bit of reassurance by telling him that the worst part has already passed. Her eyes glow with a soft light as she activates energy sense, allowing her to see the flow of power within Soyeon's body. Lana explains that Soyeon is healing at an incredible rate, a testament to the power of the strongest healing item in the game. Lana can't help but smile, remarking to Yeon-u that being with him always seems to attract the most insane stuff. Suddenly, Yeon-u reaches out and grabs her by the arm, startling her so much she lets out a small yelp. His expression is cold and demanding as he looks her in the eye and asks her point-blank who she really is. Lana looks down, thinking to herself that her life truly did take a turn the moment she first met him. Yeon-u doesn't let up, reminding her how she once tricked him and vanished, only to reappear now with powerful items. Lana pleads with him to let go, promising that she'll explain everything if he just gives her a chance. She takes a deep breath and starts her story with the night they first met at a neon-lit club years ago. The scene shifts to a vibrant, noisy nightclub filled with people lost in the music and the atmosphere. Lana is there, but she looks completely bored, resting her chin on her hand as she stares out into the crowd. To her, the flashing lights, the deafening music, and the fake smiles of the partygoers all feel like a hollow hallucination. She glances down at her phone, finding the digital items and stats on her screen to be far more real than the world around her. She remains detached from the party, a silent observer in a room full of noise. Through the crowd, she notices a man standing in the shadows, watching her with an intense interest. It's the unknown leader, standing in a sharp suit with glowing glasses, watching the room with a calm, analytical gaze. Lana finds him strange, dismissing him as some kind of gloomy nerd before turning back to her phone. Suddenly, a hand reaches out and grabs her wrist, pulling her attention away from her screen. A man with reddish hair and a smirk forces her into a dance, acting as if they've been waiting for each other. He leans in close, calling her cute and mocking her for being so focused on her phone. He assumes she's been missing him since they haven't seen each other in a month, and suggests they leave the club together. Lana tries to remain calm, but her patience is clearly wearing thin as she tells the stranger to back off. When she tries to pull away, the man's grip only tightens, and his friendly facade begins to slip away. She snaps at him, telling him she doesn't even know him and that he's in for it the next time they meet. She walks away, leaving the man fuming as he realizes his phone is missing from his pocket. He chases after her, screaming in a rage that she's lying about not remembering who he is. He shouts that they made a promise in the game, Hero Fighters, where she said she'd play with him if he reached level 90. The man looks completely unhinged, his face twisted with the effort of the month-long grind he endured just to satisfy her condition. Lana looks back in shock and disgust, realizing just how dangerous and obsessed this stranger actually is. Just as the man reaches for her again, another hand clamps down on his arm, stopping him in his tracks. The unknown leader steps in, calmly telling the aggressor to start by letting go of her immediately. Lana is surprised to see the gloomy nerd again, especially when he holds out her phone and says he found what she was looking for. The angry gamer turns his fury on the newcomer, telling him to mind his own business and stay out of their conversation. The unknown leader is unfazed by the shouting, merely commenting on the other's crude and uncultured behavior. His glasses flare with a bright, intimidating light as he delivers a single, forceful command that echoes through the room. Sit. The sheer pressure of his voice and presence leaves the attacker stunned and speechless, frozen by the overwhelming aura. Andrew stood in the middle of the club, hearing a low growl coming from right in front of him. That guy is now as obedient as a puppy. Andrew just gave one command, and that guy scrambled off like he'd been house-trained ages ago. Lana stood frozen in terror, witnessing the entire scene unfold. She thanks him for the save, wondering if he used some kind of hypnosis on the guy. Andrew drops a bombshell. He knows her handle name is actually Item Selling Girl. He knows she's the top seller Horizon, and Lana is floored that he found her. He tells her he's got an offer that'll change her boring reality. He makes it clear that he specifically needs her help for a project. Lana is left speechless, staring at him in confusion. She's worried about her anonymity being blown, but Andrew just keeps smiling. He hands over a business card identifying himself as Andrew Kim, a lawyer for Oz Games. Lana looks at the card, trying to process what a gaming lawyer even does. Andrew prepares to get down to the details of the deal. They sit down in a private booth to discuss the specifics. The mission is simple. He wants her to bring the retired legend No Mercy back into the game. Lana asks why she's being recruited instead of him, just talking to the guy himself. Andrew says it's because her track record with the community is impeccable. He decides to put her supposed expertise to the test. He quizzes her on No Mercy's birthday and his family, and she nails every single answer. Andrew gives a thumbs up, revealing he knows she was the former president of the players' fan club. Lana is embarrassed by how much trivia she just rattled off without even thinking. She asks why they're so desperate for a retired pro gamer right now. Andrew explains that progress in the VR beta has completely stalled due to a specific hurdle. His client wants the official launch ASAP, and they think only No Mercy can clear the path. Lana is skeptical that a massive company like OzSoft can't handle a game on their own. Andrew reaches into his jacket and pulls out a small gift box. He presents a pair of earrings, a legendary Abyss fragment from the Aluna set. He tells her that the item will come in handy for her later. Lana is mesmerized by the jewel, which looks even more real than it did in VR. She slams her hand on the table, offended that he thinks he can buy her with a gift. Andrew just checks his phone, mentioning they also need her actual item trading skills. He nonchalantly mentions that he's already transferred the initial funds. Lana pulls out her phone and starts counting the zeros on her screen. Her eyes nearly pop out of her head at the number. It's 50 million won. Andrew just sits there, completely unbothered by the sum. He ups the stakes if she helps beat Kyan and collects his full legendary set. He'll pay her a total of 1 billion won as performance compensation. Back in the present, Lana realizes that the lawyer knew items would manifest in reality. She thought they were just fancy merch, but they were powerful items all along. Yeon-u gets pissed, calling her a scammer because she quoted a different number earlier. Lana tells him to stop making it sound shady, as she recalls the moment the fragment went wild. Lana explains that the physical toll was immediate. She was hit with a brutal headache and had to bail on the venue. Looking back, she was so wrecked from the experience that she could barely even move for days afterward. That agony was actually her body sinking to the game item she'd brought into reality. As she slowly started to regain consciousness, she felt a powerful but familiar energy tugging at her soul. The next thing she knew, the flashback ended and she was at the hospital rooftop looking right at Yeon-u. Back in the present, Yeon-u is completely lost, asking her what this sinking thing even means. Lana explains it's the process where an item binds to a player, and asks if something similar happened to him. He realizes she's talking about the Ring of Eternity he picked up after defeating Kyan. He tells her the ring saved him just when he thought those thugs were going to end him. It's not just about destruction either. It's got a healing factor that's the only reason Soyeon is still alive. Lana is floored. As a professional item dealer who's memorized the whole compendium, she's never heard of a ring like that. She's seen items keep their game abilities in the real world before, but this is on another level. She stares at his hand, repeating that a ring with that kind of overwhelming destructive power is unheard of. She demands to know what the item actually is, but Yeon-u doesn't have a clear answer. Yeon-u admits he's in the dark too. Meanwhile, in a city choked with fog, the aftermath of a massacre is laid bare. Civilians lie unconscious in the street, as a mysterious man in a hazmat suit stalks through the ruins. This is the toxic mask user, and his gear allows him to suck the life force out of everyone nearby. He gloats that coming here was the right call, pleased with the harvest of energy. He notes that the younger people have much stronger life force and plans to hit a school next. Suddenly, a loud guitar riff cuts through the air, stopping the villain in his tracks. A man with long silver hair is watching the scene from a distance, completely unimpressed. The villain spins around, confused by the sudden musical interruption. Kang Chan, also known as Busker, sighs at his own bad luck for running into this gas. He stands there with his bladed electric guitar, annoyed that there's nobody around to watch his street gig. The toxic mask user is baffled that this guy can even breathe with all the poison in the air. Kang Chan doesn't care about the gas. He's just happy to finally have an audience member to perform for. The villain gets fed up and tries to blast him with a wave of toxic sludge. Kang Chan just grips his guitar tighter, acting like the true rock star he thinks he is. He swings his weapon and carves right through the toxic blast like it's nothing. The toxic mask user can't believe his eyes, as his attack is completely neutralized. Kang Chan announces that it's finally his turn to take the stage and perform. He starts shredding, and massive jolts of purple energy erupt from his guitar strings. He asks the villain if the show is awesome enough for him, while the guy begs him to stop. A massive last killing prompt appears as Kang Chan prepares his final chord. The sound waves are so powerful they start cracking the villain's mask and vibrating his whole body. He screams out the name of his finishing move as he gives the performance everything he's got. With a massive shatter, the toxic mask is blown into a million tiny pieces. Kang Chan strikes a final pose, satisfied with what he calls a flawless live performance. The villain's mask completely disintegrates in a spray of fluid and debris. The toxic mask user collapses face first into the pavement, totally defeated and silent. Kang Chan breaks out into a maniacal laugh, soaking in the glory of his solo concert. He catches his breath, looking down at his broken fan with a smug, satisfied grin. Kang Chan takes in the empty city street, feeling that while the imaginary spotlights are on him, there's no crowd to enjoy his show. Suddenly, he's struck by a bolt of inspiration, convinced that he's just come up with a truly legendary plan. He decides that if he doesn't have an audience, he'll just have to recruit some equally awesome bandmates to share the stage. He carries an S-rank legendary item, the rampaging electric guitar, which channels more destructive power as his heartbeat quickens. He strikes a dramatic pose, feeling like a natural-born superstar who only deserves the most elite teammates. His gaze drifts up to a large billboard on a nearby building, where a familiar face from the competitive gaming scene catches his eye. It's the avatar of No Mercy, a legendary player who remained an icon even after his sudden and mysterious retirement. Kang Chan shreds a celebratory riff, immediately declaring No Mercy as the first official member of his future superstar rock band. He points confidently at the poster, certain that the legendary No Mercy is the only one worthy of being his bandmate. He flashes a sparkly, self-assured smirk, feeling as though his hellish audition process is already destined for success. His self-congratulation is cut short by the sound of slow, rhythmic clapping coming from further down the street. He turns around to see a man in a crisp business suit standing in the middle of the debris, applauding his act. The stranger, Andrew Kim, approaches with a polite and practiced smile, seemingly unaffected by the surrounding destruction. Andrew compliments the performance, calling it a truly spectacular display that he was honored to witness in person. He claims that he's already become a massive fan of the guitar-wielding warrior and his musical violence. Kang Chan is completely blindsided by the praise, his eyes going wide as he tries to process having a real living fan. The man in the suit adjusts his glasses with a steady hand, observing the musician's stunned reaction with keen interest. Tears of pure joy well up in Kang Chan's eyes as he emotionally asks the stranger if he's actually being serious. He gets swept up in the excitement, eagerly asking which specific part of his performance managed to hook such a distinguished fan. Andrew Kim lets out a sharp laugh, telling Kang Chan that he clearly has a very good eye for recognizing greatness. The attorney notes that the guitar is a legendary item with hidden conditions, rumored to belong to a player who vanished long ago. He realizes that the man standing before him must be that legendary, long-lost player known as Busker. Andrew begins to reach into the inner pocket of his blazer, promising to give the musician all the support he could ever need. Kang Chan tenses up slightly as the man reaches for something, his fingers still hovering over his guitar strings. He clarifies that his name is actually Kang Chan, and that he has never once referred to himself by the handle Busker. He adds that there's something about this encounter that has felt incredibly suspicious to him from the very start. He glares at the suit-clad stranger, questioning if he's just another regular heartbeat, or something far more dangerous. Keeping his weapon ready, he demands to know exactly what the man is hiding in his jacket pocket. Andrew Kim calmly pulls out a small white card, mentioning that he was intending to hand it over from the beginning. He presents a business card for Oz Games, identifying himself as an attorney from their entertainment legal department. Kang Chan's expression instantly changes to pure excitement at the word entertainment, convinced he's being scouted for stardom. He starts to shake with anticipation, imagining his long-awaited debut as a world-famous rock star is finally happening. He quickly drops his guard, looking back at the attorney with a mix of shock and unbridled hope for his future career. Andrew Kim maintains a professional and pleasant facade, but there's a coldness behind his glasses as he watches the musician. Kang Chan gestures wildly toward the poster of No Mercy, bragging that even the legendary gamer is a fan of his work. He admits that he was already on his way to track down No Mercy, though he has no idea where the guy is actually hiding. A dark, ominous aura surrounds the attorney as he reveals that he was also heading toward the very same person. Andrew invited Kang Chan to join him, just as the story shifted focus to a bright memory of a sparring match from within a hallucination. In a local dojo, a teenage boy is sent sprawling across the floor by a perfectly executed taekwondo kick. His sparring partner, Soyeon, lands gracefully and tells him he's pathetic for not even being able to dodge such a simple move. Yeon-u sits up on the mat, clutching his stomach and complaining that it's unfair to spar against a national-level athlete. He stares down at his red headgear in frustration, noting that for some reason his legs feel much weaker than they used to. In the past, a young Soyeon protests loudly, insisting that their tradition of sparring before every match is non-negotiable. Yeon-u, still in his headgear, argues that her strikes are far too painful for a normal girl, jokingly demoting her to little brother status. A framed photo of Han Sung-min sits in the dojo, a silent witness to their playful bickering about Soyeon's path to becoming a medalist. The siblings continue their session, with Soyeon teasingly promising to get her military exemption, while Yeon-u struggles to keep up. Soyeon pinches her brother's cheeks as he groans in annoyance, their bond as athletes and siblings on full display in the gym. Lana stands before Soyeon's unconscious form within the mental landscape, her expression firm as she tells the girl they need to leave. Lana suddenly grabs Soyeon's arm, urgently trying to wake her by reminding her that this dojo memory isn't real, and she's only dreaming. The blonde woman cries out in pain as an invisible force violently pushes her back, rejecting her presence in the girl's subconscious. Lana finds herself being physically repelled, as a stern voice tells her that she doesn't belong in this realm. A shadowed presence identifies Lana as a pawn of the abyss, ordering her not to interfere with the girl's current state. The demonic digital entity Kian manifests within the darkness, his glowing green eyes fixed on Lana as he commands her to be gone. Kian delivers a powerful blow that sends Lana spiraling out of the vision, her scream echoing through the mental void. Falling back into reality, Lana realizes with a jolt that the power protecting Soyeon is the legendary Helia's breath. Prime of life Helia, a majestic armored spirit with silver hair and glowing eyes, stands as a regal guardian behind the young Soyeon. Lana's eyes fly open in the real world, her expression one of pure terror after her violent encounter within the spirit realm. Yeon-u immediately notices her distress, leaning in to ask if she's okay as Lana gasps for breath. He asks if she found anything out or when Soyeon will finally wake up, his face full of concern for both women. Lana reveals that Helia's breath rejected her, then asks Yeon-u if his sister had any history of playing hero fighters. She looks contemplative after hearing that Soyeon was never into games, realizing that the situation is far more complex than she thought. Lana theorizes that while pro gamers like Yeon-u and Volcano synced with their items instantly, Soyeon's lack of experience is causing a rejection. Soyeon is hanging in there, kept stable by the passive effect of the artifact on her chest. Since she never actually played the game, her body isn't fully syncing with the item yet. Inside her mind, Helia's breath is putting her through a trial to see if she's actually worthy of its power. Yeon-u watches over her, clearly worried about what she's going through. This isn't just some random test. It involves the 9 transcendent beings who govern the game's entire lore, the Primes. Leading them is Prime of Life Helia, the one who rules over prosperity and growth. Yeon-u doesn't know exactly what kind of test his sister is facing right now. He gently rests a hand on her forehead, trying to stay positive for her sake. He knows Soyeon is strong, even if she looks fragile right now. He remembers her strength from the day of their father's funeral. Back then, Yeon-u was the one broken, huddled in a corner of the funeral hall. Soyeon was just a kid herself, but she was the one who brought him a bowl of rice to keep him going. She stood tall and declared that from that day on, she'd be the mom and he'd have to step up as the dad. Back in the present, he tells Lana that he has complete faith in his sister's will. He tucks her in while Lana watches, a bit jealous of the bond the two of them share. The blonde heads off to use the computer, asking if he's ready to get to work. Lana is ready to move past the basics and start looking for some real answers about what's happening. It's been days since items started appearing in the real world, and they're definitely not the only ones dealing with the fallout. Yeon-u joins her at the monitor, but his partner says she can't find a single mention of the items online. The news is full of stories about mysterious explosions and collapsing hospitals, but they're completely ignoring the item drops. She leans in close, teasing him about how he uses that brain of his to manipulate people. The gamer tells her to just focus on the screen. He asks if she's checked Horizon, the biggest info site for pro players. Even on the main hub for gaming news, there's absolutely nothing about Oz Games going completely silent. It's clear to Yeon-u that someone is deliberately scrubbing any mention of the item manifestations from the public. Suddenly, the sound of a guitar string echoes through the room, making them both jump. His instincts kick in as he hears the sharp, electric sound coming from right outside the door. Yeon-u bursts into the next room, terrified that something is happening to his sister. He stops in his tracks when he sees a stranger standing over her. Kang-chan is standing there with a bladed guitar, claiming the girl's vibe inspired his latest melody. The brother demands to know who the hell he is, but the musician just introduces his new track. He calls it Girl in My Dreams and starts shredding, sending sound waves rippling through the air. The noise is deafening, forcing Yeon-u and Lana to drop to their knees and cover their ears. He grits his teeth, trying to fight through the sheer sonic pressure. Over on the bed, Soyeon starts to struggle, the music clearly affecting her condition. Kang-chan laughs maniacally, saying her heartbeat is the perfect accompaniment to his track. Seeing his sister in pain flips a switch in Yeon-u, and he roars at the guy to stop. He lunges across the room, his fist glowing with a dangerous red energy. The guitar player doesn't even have time to react before the punch is inches from his face. The impact is massive, sending the intruder crashing straight through the floorboards. But the villain just smiles through the debris, calling his opponent impatient. He says he was planning to wait until the song was over, but he's ready to play for real now. Yeon-u doesn't waste any time, throwing a massive punch to get the audition started. Back in the hospital room, the strain of the artifact on Soyeon's chest is clearly reaching a breaking point. Her hand twitches as the trial inside her mind begins to accelerate. In the dream world, she stands before the dojo doors, struggling to make sense of the strange woman she just saw. She hears a voice from her past, warning her that everything outside the safety of these walls is cruel and cold. A manifestation of her brother is there too, telling her to just ignore the outside world and focus on the now. Soyeon looks around at the dream version of her family dojo, a place where there's no such thing as pain. The boy tells her she can be happy here forever if she just stops trying to leave. But a sudden, jarring sound shatters the illusion, snapping her back to reality. She recognizes the sound of a guitar, and it feels completely wrong for this peaceful dream. Soyeon realizes the noise is leaking in from the world outside the dojo. She starts to question everything. She knows her body was supposed to be falling apart, so why does she feel fine now? The place looks the same as always, but the lack of pain makes the whole thing feel like a trap. Driven by a sudden urgency, she knows she has to get out of here right now. She lunges for the doors, grabbing the heavy handles to pull them open. But before she can make a move, a hand clamps around her throat and yanks her backward. She looks up and sees her brother's face, but his eyes are ice cold as he asks who gave her permission to leave. The fake Yeon-u doesn't hesitate, sending her flying across the mats with a brutal kick. Soyeon skids to a halt, gasping for air as her world starts to glitch. She glares at him, demanding to know who he really is and what he's done with her real brother. The manifestation just scoffs, telling her that waking up was her biggest mistake. That's when a divine light floods the room, and Prime of Life Helia manifests in all her glory. The armored goddess tells Soyeon that this is her final trial. Soyeon doesn't care about the trial, she just knows she has to find a way out. Helia challenges her to prove she's actually worthy of the life the artifact has given her. She warns Soyeon that if she can't open that door through her own strength, she's finished. Soyeon screams for her brother as the gap between the doors begins to vanish. The doors slam shut with a finality that shakes her to her core. Helia's voice echoes through the void, declaring that she'll be trapped in this dream for eternity. In the real world, Soyeon's body convulses as Lana watches helplessly, unable to stop the energy surge. The battle outside is reaching a fever pitch, and Yeon-u is ready to live up to his nickname. Kang-chan swings his bladed guitar with a manic grin, calling this their compatibility audition. Yeon-u grits his teeth, realizing the guy is serious about turning this room into a mosh pit. If he lets that weapon keep swinging, someone is going to end up dead. They clash with explosive force, tearing through the floor and walls of the hospital. The rocker seems to be loving every second of it, saying he's really digging Yeon-u's raging vibe. He flashes a twisted smile, ready to push things even further. He tells Yeon-u to get ready, because he's about to crank the tempo way up. Kang-chan shouts that the beat is hitting hard, as he launches another relentless assault. The two of them exchange a rapid-fire series of blows, neither one giving an inch. Yeon-u roars back, calling him a fraud and refusing to let the sonic pressure slow him down. The impact is so intense that Lana has to shield herself as the entire building begins to groan under the strain. Lana watches the shockwaves from the fight, wondering who's actually winning this crazy battle. She quickly turns her attention back to Soyeon, noticing that the girl's condition is becoming increasingly unstable. Soyeon's brainwaves have been all over the place ever since that guitar started playing, and Lana knows that even touching her could be dangerous now. She feels completely helpless in this situation, unsure of what she can even do to help. Suddenly, a calm voice tells her not to be so hard on herself, and she spins around to see a man standing in the doorway. The man, Andrew Kim, remarks that Lana is an extremely valuable asset and glances at the Breath of Helia artifact. Andrew smirks, telling Lana that she's still as stunning as ever. Lana recognizes him immediately as the lawyer, but she's shaken by the fact that she didn't even notice him standing there. Andrew casually asks her how business is going, looking around the room with an air of superiority. Lana snaps back, telling him that this clearly isn't the time for small talk and that she doesn't have the items he's looking for. Andrew just smiles, saying he's aware of that, but the Breath of Helia alone is more than enough for him. Seeing him reach for Soyeon, Lana powers up, her eyes glowing with intensity as she tells him to get away. Lana uses her mind control ability, attempting to take control of Andrew's body to stop him. She thinks she's managed to get inside his head and decides she has to get Soyeon out of there while she still has the chance. But Andrew just chuckles, telling her that he doesn't think so as his eyes light up with a cyan glow. He calls her name with a sinister grin, completely unfazed by her psychic attack. Lana is horrified to realize her ability didn't work at all, and Andrew asks if she knows why he's been ignoring her messages. He reveals that it's because he's been watching her every move this entire time. He holds up a glowing blue gem, claiming that they are connected through it. The item is revealed to be an abyssal crystal, a psychic-type gem that can extend control into reality itself. Lana's heart sinks as she realizes that's the core item of the Abyss set. She understands now that her own Abyss fragment is just a lower-tier item compared to the crystal he holds. Andrew tells her his work is far too risky to handle in person, which is why he needed a supporter like her. He admits he just pointed her in the right direction, and that she performed way beyond his expectations. Lana grits her teeth, feeling like an absolute idiot for ever trusting him. She realizes he only gave her the fragment so he could monitor and control her from the start. Andrew tells her the risk is gone now, and that it's time for her to get some rest. He activates a command to quit her possession force, and Lana's eyes widen as her power is forcibly shut down. Andrew scoffs at Kang Chan, calling him a fool for fighting no mercy without even using mind control. He looks at a scan of Yeon-u's item, and is surprised to see the results come back as unknown despite its legendary power. He plans to let the two fighters wear each other out before having his guild members finish the job and analyze them. He tells Lana not to be afraid, promising her that the other guild members will welcome her with open arms. Andrew reaches down and begins to pull the Breath of Helia off of Soyeon's chest. Lana screams out in protest, knowing that if he steals the artifact now, Soyeon might never wake up. Suddenly, a green blade of energy slashes through the air, catching Andrew completely by surprise. He screams in agony as the energy blade slices deep into his arm. Andrew clutches his bleeding arm, looking up in shock as Soyeon's body begins to float. A swirling mass of cyan energy surrounds the girl as her name appears in a dark void. Andrew yells in frustration, unable to believe that Soyeon is showing signs of consciousness. The mind control prompt appears again, but this time it seems to be working in reverse. Andrew tries to force her back down, shouting at her to go back to sleep like a good girl. But the only response he gets is a simple, defiant command, "Prove it." A sudden, violent surge of cyan energy erupts from Soyeon, tearing through Andrew Kim's mental shackles like a bolt of lightning. Her eyes snap open, burning with an intense amber light as the dormant power within her finally awakens. Andrew reels back in confusion as a dark, swirling portal opens before him, accompanied by a chilling voice promising him a perfect body. The spirit of Han Sung-min appears within the void, his presence a testament to the bond that Andrew tried so hard to break. Without warning, Soyeon delivers a devastating taekwondo kick that slams into Andrew's jaw with bone-shattering force. The impact sends the lawyer sprawling across the room, his glasses flying as he gasps in shock and pain. Lana watches from the ground, clutching her head in disbelief at the sudden and violent shift in the room's power dynamic. Soyeon floats gracefully above the floor, her hospital gown fluttering as a radiant aura surrounds her entire body. She looks down at Lana, her expression calm and focused, worlds away from the frail girl she was moments ago. Soyeon recognizes Lana as the woman who tried to protect her, her voice echoing with a newfound strength as she speaks of the promise she made. The Breath of Helia artifact glows with brilliant light on her chest, responding to the iron will of the girl who refuses to stay a victim. She recalls the silhouette of her brother, remembering how they vowed to always be there for each other, no matter the cost. Bathed in spiritual energy, Soyeon demands answers, her presence filling the room with an undeniable pressure. Her eyes glow with a piercing green light as she asks the only question that matters. Where is my brother right now? Outside, the battle rages on as Kang Chan's fingers fly across the strings of his bladed guitar, unleashing a torrent of sonic energy. He activates a skill called Gatling Riff, summoning the spectral form of the mysterious guitar woman to rain down a barrage of attacks. Yeon-u is forced into a desperate dash, dodging shards of debris as the sonic projectiles tear up the earth in a rhythmic pattern. He curses under his breath, realizing that the S-rank guitar has far more versatility and skills than he initially anticipated. The mix of close-range slashes and long-range sonic bursts makes Kang Chan a nightmare to approach. As the spectral guitarist continues her relentless assault, Yeon-u notes that this guy is even more irritating than Volcano was. He looks down at his own glowing ring, contemplating his next move as he searches for a way to break through the busker's deadly rhythm. Han Yeon-u taps into a unique power called Eternal Force. He can sense other skills hidden deep within the ability. But for now, they're all locked tight. Even without them, the base power is already overwhelming. Yeon-u starts cranking up the output, but his gaze goes blank. A primal hunger wakes up inside him, wanting to devour everything in this world. He realizes he might get swallowed up by his own power if he's not careful. There's no time to worry about the risks right now. He needs to drop the psycho first. He pours everything into the skill. A massive green surge erupts, drowning out a scream as the scene glitches. Yeon-u screams for Soyeon as the sonic attack batters him from all sides. Kang Chan cranks up the volume, unleashing his sound of rage and demanding Yeon-u's full attention. Yeon-u clutches his head, his vision blurring as glitches tear through his senses. The busker warns him that one wrong move could literally shred his mind. Looking at the pro player, Kang Chan admits he once dreamed of being a star just like him. But he realized pretty quickly that music alone wasn't going to get him to the top. His agency pulled the plug on his band, leaving them all in the dirt after years of hard work. He watched as the world moved on, obsessed with esports like hero fighters instead of live rock shows. Seeing No Mercy hailed as the greatest superstar of the century made him sick. It was just a game, after all. So he decided if he couldn't beat them, he'd join them and try the game himself. At first, he hated it. Compared to the rush of performing, gaming felt boring as hell. But his pride as a guitarist kicked in, and he started treating every match like a complex shred song he had to master. He set out to do what no other player could, and went hunting for the ultimate gear. That's when he found it, a legendary S-rank item that almost never drops. The rampaging electric guitar, a weapon that gets more destructive the faster your heart beats. He finally got it, and he couldn't help but roar in victory. When the VR version launched, he was ready to take his stage even if it was just pixels. But then the game started bleeding into reality, and things got weird fast. Now he sees this as his second chance, his shot to show the entire world his true power. He declares himself the one true superstar, Kang Chan the busker. Yeon-u groans in pain, begging him to stop as the pressure becomes unbearable. A dark, heavy voice starts echoing in his head, commanding him to devour everything in sight. The voice gets louder, drowning out everything else while Kang Chan closes in for the finish. Yeon-u loses control completely, screaming as a terrifying red aura begins to consume him. Suddenly, a massive shadow claw swipes through the air, nearly catching the busker off guard. Kang Chan barely dodges, shouting at Yeon-u to get a grip before he loses his humanity. A monstrous glowing eye snaps open within the darkness. The air gets heavy with a brutal, suffocating vibe that chills the busker to his core. This isn't a human sound anymore. Yeon-u has fully transformed into a nightmare with 4 glowing eyes. Kang Chan can only describe it as pure death metal straight from hell. He realizes way too late that he's in way over his head. Out of nowhere, Soyeon drops in and sends the busker flying with a perfectly timed kick. He crashes into the mud, completely caught off guard by the girl's sudden intervention. Now Soyeon stands alone, facing the towering shadow that used to be her brother. She looks up at him, her medallion glowing as she realizes something is horribly wrong. The monster looms over her, its only thought being the hunger to devour. It lunges forward, claws reaching for her small frame. Soyeon cries out for her big brother, hoping her voice can still reach him. The scene shifts back to a childhood memory, 2 siblings sparring in their father's dojo. A handheld game console blares, KO, as a young Yeon-u secures another win. At 13 years old, he was full of energy and convinced he was a total genius. That was the moment he stepped away from the dojo and into the world of gaming. 10-year-old Han Soyeon wasn't just his little sister, she was his self-appointed supervisor. She strictly enforced the no games in the dojo rule, confiscating his device until they got home. And man, did she hate it when he played, mostly because it took all his attention away from her. Yeon-u would chase her all over the place, desperate to get just one more win for that rank 1 spot. She'd tease him, promising to give it back only if he actually put some effort into his practice. But their dad usually had the final say, and he didn't appreciate the noise. Han father would lift them both up by their collars, ending the chase with a stern lecture about screwing around in his dojo. The punishment was always the same, 100 kicks each, regardless of who started it. Even after the extra training, Soyeon never missed an opportunity to get in his way. It wasn't just at the dojo. She followed him everywhere, even when he was out with friends. She'd burst into the net cafe, catching him right in the middle of a raid. She'd even track him down to the bathroom, refusing to give him a single moment of peace. Back then, Yeon-u genuinely thought she was the most annoying person on the planet. He'd just give up, telling himself he'd just take it back once they finally got home. But one day everything changed. Soyeon took off running and tripped. She hit the ground hard, a pained cry escaping her as she tumbled into the dirt. The handheld game flew out of her hands, sailing through the air. It landed with a splash right in the middle of the muddy river. Yeon-u came running, shouting her name and telling her to come out from wherever she was hiding. He finally spotted her standing by the water, looking small and defeated. She was covered in mud, her head hanging low as her brother rushed over to see what happened. Tears started streaming down her face as she admitted she'd lost his game in the river. Through her sobs, she confessed that she only took it because she wanted him to play with her more. She was terrified he'd be furious, but Yeon-u didn't even look at the water. He reached out, his hand gentle as he wiped a tear from her cheek. He noticed a cut on her forehead and immediately started worrying about her, completely ignoring the lost game. He told her he didn't care about some stupid device. He was just worried sick about her. Soyeon looked up at him, her eyes wide as he made her promise him something. "Don't ever disappear without telling me again," he said, and she nodded, agreeing to his terms. The memory blurs as their younger selves embrace, a bond forged in the mud of that riverbank. Back in the present, that same promise is what anchors Yeon-u's soul as the monster tries to take over. Soyeon's spirit reaches out to the massive shadow, pleading with him to finally come back home. The word Soyeon escapes the monster's lips as the darkness begins to recede. Flashbacks of her struggle to walk, her accident, and the long days in the hospital flash through his mind. Yeon-u finally snaps out of it, pulling his sister into a desperate, crushing hug as he cries her name. Soyeon smiles through her own tears, teasing him that he took long enough to notice her. He squeezes her tighter, as if afraid she might vanish again if he let go. She whispers that she's finally home, the golden aura of her medallion washing over them both. But the touching reunion is being watched from a distance. One target is locked in. The crosshairs shift, moving away from the siblings to a second target. The count reaches 3 as the figure prepares to pull the trigger. The mysterious sniper narrows his eyes, his finger tightening on the trigger of his rifle. The mysterious sniper adjusts his aim, his target locked within the lens. The crosshairs find Lana, who remains oblivious to the impending danger. Yeon-u embraces his sister, his relief tangible in the quiet morning air. Soyeon sobs into his chest, the nightmare of their separation finally ending. She looks up, her face a mix of joy and lingering disbelief. Yeon-u frantically checks her limbs, unable to believe she's truly standing. Soyeon grows flustered by his fussing, her cheeks flushing with mild annoyance. Yeon-u watches, stunned, as she prepares to demonstrate her restored mobility. With a sudden, forceful kick, Soyeon launches her brother into the air. She stares him down, proving her strength is very much real. Their moment is interrupted by Kang-chan, who approaches with casual confidence. Yeon-u shields his sister, warning the stranger not to take another step. His gaze turns lethal, a silent promise to crush anyone who interferes. Soyeon stops him, recognizing the eccentric man and his unusual guitar. She points excitedly, thanking him for the music that stirred her soul. She bows deeply, leaving Yeon-u confused by this unexpected ally. Kang-chan stares at his instrument, the girl's gratitude striking a deep chord. His eyes brim with tears, his pride swelling beyond his control. He breaks into loud wails of joy, moved by his own healing power. He hoists his guitar skyward, grandly declaring himself a legendary musical savior. Yeon-u remains skeptical, doubting this idiot had any hand in her recovery. Soyeon giggles, admitting that while eccentric, he seems fundamentally kind. Kang-chan declares Yeon-u has passed his audition, much to Soyeon's amusement. The group stands exposed on the bridge, unaware of the lurking threat. Elsewhere, Lana sits bound, Andrew Kim towering over her with chilling calm. Andrew explains the abyss barrier, a psychic dome sealing them from reality. Lana glares at him, her eyes burning with fury at his betrayal. He adjusts his glasses, cold and methodical as he awaits his guild. Lana demands answers, her muffled voice thick with defiance. Andrew's expression turns sinister as he prepares to reveal his grand design. He monologues about the past, tracing the shift in their world's fabric. He references Hero Fighters, the game that was more than a simulation. Lana's heart sinks as he reveals the game is an alternate dimension. He details the system linking their worlds, a bridge across reality itself. The defeat of the final boss will trigger a permanent overlap of dimensions. Items and monsters will spill into reality, creating a chaotic crossover. He reveals they used the siblings as keys to unlock this final stage. Lana recoils in horror at the scale of his calculated manipulation. Andrew smirks, revealing his true role within the company that started it all. He mentions Horizon, the name sending a shock of recognition through Lana. He clarifies that Horizon is more than a site, it's an asset collector. He envisions a future where Horizon rules as the ultimate real-world guild. Andrew Kim lets out a chilling laugh, reveling in his perceived victory as he orders Lana to serve as his puppet. Lana stares back at him with pure disdain, her voice flat as she questions his intelligence. She mocks his lack of power, unaware that Andrew has a grotesque secret hidden within his own body. Lana's eyes flashed with a cold, manic intensity as she declared that he was no longer the one in control. Digital artifacts ripple through his hand as the transplanted item's power begins to fluctuate wildly. Suddenly, Andrew's hand is torn away in a gruesome spray of blood, leaving him in total disbelief. His expression freezes in a mask of pure, unadulterated shock as his plan unravels. He is sent tumbling backward as his control over the barrier shatters into pieces. Blood smears across his cracked glasses as he tries to make sense of the sudden reversal. Andrew collapses into the debris, his body broken and his arrogance finally extinguished. He glares up with a face battered and dripping with crimson, unable to comprehend his defeat. Lana stands free, holding the abyss barrier crystal and mocking his pathetic failure. She coldly admits she was just using him for information all along, treating him like a puppet. Andrew's eye burns with hatred as he realizes he was the one being played from the start. Desperate and dying, he screams for B-Killer to protect the remaining item. A red laser targeting beam suddenly sweeps across the darkness, marking a new target. Lana notices the light, her heart jumping as she realizes a sniper is already locked on. A sudden, high-caliber shot rings out, the impact far more devastating than she expected. Andrew's head snaps back as blood erupts, his final scream cut short by the sniper's bullet. Lana stares in stunned silence, her face spattered by the fatal spray of her former captor. The area is engulfed in a final, blinding flash as the chapter draws to a violent close. A high-velocity bullet streaks past Lana's head, barely missing her. Yeon-u doesn't waste a second, tackling her to the ground as more shots ring out. Debris explodes from the wall right above them. That was way too close for comfort. Lana stays low, realizing she can't sense anyone nearby. They're being targeted from a massive distance. Yeon-u peers over the ledge, trying to gauge where the shots are coming from. Just how far away is this guy? Across the ruins of the city, a single massive skyscraper towers over everything else. On the very edge of that rooftop, a tiny silhouette is barely visible against the sky. The sniper chuckles to himself as he prepares his next round. He's completely confident. Without a long-range search item, he knows they'll never find him. This pro goes by the name B-Killer, a member of the Horizon Guild. His weapon is the Night Talon, a stealth rifle forged to track relentlessly and never miss its mark. He counted down and fired the next shot. A second bullet streaks toward them immediately after. Yeon-u senses the incoming fire and grabs Lana, screaming for her to move. Suddenly, a familiar smirk appears as a new player enters the fray. Kang Chan swoops in, brandishing his bladed guitar sword. He claims he can hear the sniper's voice, hiding right behind the sound of the gunshots. He swings the massive instrument, unleashing a powerful sonic projectile aimed at the distant building. The blast tears through the air with incredible speed. It reaches the skyscraper in an instant, cutting through the distance. B-Killer's eyes widen as he sees the attack coming right through his scope. The impact sends him flying backward, blood spraying from his mouth as he's thrown off balance. Yeon-u asks Rock Boy if he actually found the shooter, but Chan admits he was just firing at the noise. Yeon-u grips the edge of the wall, his ring glowing with a faint, pulsing light. His eyes turn a predatory red. He needs that location, and he needs it now. Lana looks over, clearly surprised by the sudden change in his intensity. She explains that she recognized the weapon, the legendary tier Night Talon. The biggest problem is the sniper's cloaking skill, which makes him invisible to normal sight. Yeon-u grits his teeth, wondering how they're supposed to fight back against someone they can't see. Lana pulls out an abyssal crystal, claiming she can break the cloak with it. The range is way too limited to use from here, though, which is a massive pain. Yeon-u doesn't wait for a better plan and leaps right out the window. On the other roof, B-Killer clutches his bleeding face, cursing the guy who hit him. He's not finished. He aims his rifle again, boasting about his infinite ammo. He looks back through his scope, but sees something weird flying through the air. It's Yeon-u, carrying Lana as he literally leaps across the city gap. Lana is just screaming for her life. Before the sniper can even think about pulling the trigger, Yeon-u is right in his face. They land hard on the rooftop. Lana complains that she can't see a thing while being manhandled like this. Yeon-u skids across the concrete as they come to a halt. He catches his balance, ready for the close-range showdown. He looks around, but the rooftop is empty. Lana is in the background, looking incredibly motion-sick. She checks her senses and confirms the sniper is gone. Yeon-u wonders if they somehow landed in the wrong spot. Lana shakes her head. The sniper was definitely here just a moment ago. She activates her psychometry skill to figure out exactly where he went. A digital trail appears, showing a phantom of the shooter fleeing the scene. Yeon-u is ready to chase him down for trashing the place, but Lana tells him not to bother since the guy is cloaked. He tries to order Lana around, but she quickly reminds him she isn't a dog. Suddenly, Soyeon's voice rings out from above them. Kang Chan swoops in on his flying guitar, with Soyeon hanging onto his back. Yeon-u is shocked. He can't believe Chan actually brought his sister out into the middle of a war zone. Lana is just as stunned, wondering why Yeon-u trusts this guy enough to leave his sister with him. The pair lands on the rooftop as things start to settle down. Lana looks out at the horizon, watching the smoke rise from the ruined city. She starts counting something under her breath as she scans the skyline. She's looking at the items. Thousands of game items are raining down on the city, and people are starting to notice. It reminds her of what the lawyer said before he died. He warned that once these items drop into reality, humans will be swallowed by madness. The boundary between reality and the game is completely collapsing as people fight over loot. Everyday citizens are being forced into a brutal reality of warriors and monsters. Everyone is chasing stronger gear, desperate to survive. Society is crumbling as people turn on each other to steal items and kill for power. Yeon-u looks at the chaos and realizes the world has become a living hell. Kang Chan agrees it's brutal and suggests they evacuate while they still can. Since everyone's place is a wreck and they've already been seen, they need a new hideout. Chan asks if they'd be okay with staying somewhere high up and safer. He leads the way, telling them to follow him. They step into an elevator, and when the doors open, they're greeted by pure luxury. A massive glowing chandelier hangs in the entryway. Yeon-u is completely speechless at the sight. They're standing in a high-end penthouse with a huge spiral staircase. Even Soyeon is frozen in shock by how fancy the place is. It turns out Kang Chan's home is a literal skyscraper penthouse. The interior is packed with high-tech gear and expensive furniture. It's even got a private infinity pool overlooking the city. Lana immediately discovers the walk-in closet filled with limited-edition luxury brands. Chan casually tells her to help herself to whatever she wants since it's just his mom's stuff. Yeon-u confronts him, asking what happened to the broke busker's story. Chan snaps back, saying it's not his fault he was born into money. He claims he lived on the streets just for the sake of musical inspiration, which Yeon-u isn't buying for a second. Yeon-u grabs him by the collar, calling him a liar, but Chan insists it was all for his passion. Suddenly, someone's hand reaches out and grabs Yeon-u by the ear. It's Lana, and she's already dripping in jewelry. She warns Yeon-u not to lay a hand on her young master. She drags him away like a misbehaving kid, leaving Yeon-u stunned at how fast she sold out for some bling. Soyeon is having the time of her life, rolling around on a bed that's probably bigger than her entire room at home. She stretches out comfortably, marveling at how much her life has changed since her brother became a top-tier gamer. She notices a small teddy bear holding a guitar on a shelf and figures it must belong to Kang Chan. Chan looks over with a nostalgic but somewhat sad expression, admitting he didn't always love the guitar. His eyes drift toward a framed family photo tucked away in the corner of the shelf. In the photo, a younger, more rebellious version of his sister stands with her hand in a rock sign, while young Chan looks on. He explains that their parents were incredibly strict and couldn't stand her low-nonsense obsession with rock music. The sister eventually decided to leave, handing her favorite janky-looking teddy bear to her little brother as a parting gift. Young Chan cried as she left, but she promised that one day she'd return as a famous rock star. She even promised to buy him a giant plushie, but that was the last time he ever saw her. His parents spent a fortune trying to track her down, but every lead eventually went cold. Looking out over the city, Chan notes that the police eventually gave up, assuming she was long dead. Chan, however, refuses to stop believing, feeling like she's right there with him whenever he plays his music. His goal is to become so famous that his sound reaches every corner of the world, hoping she'll hear it. He dreams that one day, his song will lead her right back to him. Soyeon offers him a bright, encouraging smile, telling him that she's sure they'll meet again one day. She thinks about her own brother and how his strength helped her overcome her own trials. She tells him again that he'll see his sister soon, leaving Chan momentarily lost in thought. A confident smirk returns to his face as he agrees with her. He strikes a pose, declaring himself a genius musician while Soyeon cheers him on. Suddenly, a strange, distorted voice whispers "Bear" into the night air, catching Chan's attention. He summons his glowing guitar sword, sensing an immediate threat lurking nearby. He looks out from the penthouse balcony, hearing a voice that sounds far from human echoing through the city. Sensing that something is very wrong, he prepares to head out and investigate the disturbance. He grips the neck of his guitar weapon, ready for action. Soyeon hops on behind him, refusing to stay behind, which catches the flamboyant rocker off guard. He tells her to hold on tight as they soar into the dark sky above the skyscrapers. For a moment, everything seems quiet, and Chan wonders if he just imagined the strange voice. But then, their eyes widen in absolute terror as something massive looms in the darkness. A giant, pixelated eye stares back at them, dismissing them as mere gnats. A monstrous, skyscraper-sized teddy bear stands between the buildings, roaring about buzzing gnats. Chan and Soyeon can only stare in disbelief at the colossal, terrifying plushie. The monster swipes at the city with bare force, crushing everything in its path. Meanwhile, back inside the safety of the penthouse, Lana is busy posing in a chic white sweater and designer bag. She quickly changes into a more elegant purple dress, dripping in gold jewelry and fur. She continues the impromptu photo shoot, lounging across a bed in an expensive-looking pattern gown. Yeon-u looks absolutely miserable as he acts as her personal photographer. He questions why he's even doing this, but Lana insists they need to make memories for life while they have the chance. Yeon-u finally snaps, declaring he's finished, while Lana casually looks for her next outfit. He points out that the world is literally falling apart outside, but Lana remains surprisingly calm. She holds up a piece of jewelry, asking him if he understands the concept of brand tiers. She explains that the items dropping into reality follow the same logic. Survival now depends on the quality of your gear. Lana explains the basic hierarchy of item ranks, moving from simple consumables and common C basics to the more functional advanced B combat gear. As the tier rises to rare A and legendary S, items become significantly more powerful, capable of shifting the balance of power on a battlefield. At the peak of the established hierarchy are relics, ancient magical items that possess extreme power and long-forgotten abilities. While individual player stats are crucial, a higher rank item almost always guarantees a massive advantage in overall strength. She uses her own abyss, set as an example, explaining how it amplifies her psychic powers based on how many pieces are equipped. She highlights the high-tier items they currently possess, from the relic tier Breath of Helia to Kang Chan's legendary electric guitar. But above all these tools stands the raw, untamed potential of the otherworldly player, No Mercy. Lana smiles, confident that their group's collective strength and high-tier gear makes them nearly untouchable. She turns her attention to Yeon-u's rusted ring, nodding that its destructive potential is far from ordinary. She presents her theory that the unassuming ring might actually be a mythic SS rank item, surpassing every other tier known. Yeon-u is stunned, struggling to believe that the piece of junk he started with could be something so legendary. Deep down, he recalls the dark, overwhelming presence he felt within the ring, a power that felt as dangerous as it was insane. He stares at his hand, wondering if such a transformation is even possible, just as Lana snaps him out of his trance. The absurdity of the situation hits him, and he questions if he even wants to wield such an unsettling power. Lana tells him to stop worrying about useless things and enjoy the moment. Striking a sparkly final pose, she demands one last photo, while Yeon-u can only respond with an exhausted sigh. The lighthearted moment is shattered by a massive, booming roar that shakes the very foundation of the building. Yeon-u's face pales as he senses an overwhelming, monstrous aura that shouldn't be possible in the middle of the city. Panic sets in as he sprints for the balcony, his only thought on his sister's safety. He looks out over the cityscape, his breath catching in his throat as he finally sees the nightmare looming before them. A massive explosion of energy ripples through the air as the entity makes its presence known to the entire district. In the distance, the giant purple silhouette of the teddy bear monster towers over the skyscrapers, with Chan and Soyeon caught directly in its path. A massive, monstrous teddy bear is stomping through the city. It's definitely not the cuddly kind. Soyeon and Kang Chan can only stare up in shock as the giant towers over them. The bear raises a massive paw, ready to crush everything in its path. Han Yeon-u shouts a warning, but they're almost out of time. The beast slams its fist down with enough force to shatter the street. Yeon-u barely dodges the impact, his eyes locked on his sister. The shockwave sends everyone flying as the ground gives way. A massive explosion of debris swallows the group. Yeon-u rushes to Soyeon's side to make sure she isn't hurt. She says her body is tough enough to handle it now. Kang Chan isn't doing quite as well. He's out cold after taking the hit head-on. Yeon-u looks back and realizes Lana is still in the danger zone. Lana is paralyzed with fear. She's never seen a monster like this before. A system window identifies the beast as a gigantic teddy bear from a doll-themed dungeon. Lana is backed into a corner, wondering who could have summoned something so terrifying. The bear doesn't hesitate, bringing its claws down for a final strike. Yeon-u intercepts the attack, shouting at the creature to get its filthy paws off her. He lands a powerful blow that sends the bear's head snapping back. The monster looks dazed for a second, its silly face showing actual shock. It lets out a low growl, looking a lot less cute than before. Suddenly, it reveals rows of razor-sharp teeth. This thing is a nightmare. Yeon-u isn't intimidated. To him, it's just another big, dumb mob. He leaps into the air, calling it a doll that needs to learn its place. He charges forward with a punch that's aimed right between the bear's eyes. The strike connects, but instead of a thud, there's a strange popping sound. Lana and Yeon-u both freeze. Something about that hit felt wrong. The giant bear begins to dissolve into a swirl of dark energy. The energy is being sucked directly into the rusted ring on Yeon-u's finger. Yeon-u stares at his hand, covered in black residue, wondering what the hell just happened. Before he can process it, another massive mouth opens up right beneath him. He's swallowed whole in an instant. There's nothing left but empty air. Lana screams his name, completely helpless as she watches him vanish. She realizes she's the only one left and tries to scramble away. She runs toward the edge, desperate to escape whatever is coming next. She reaches out, hoping for a miracle that isn't coming. A sudden impact catches her off guard, sending her falling backward. She's sent flying off the side of the platform with a terrified scream. Lana hits the water with a massive splash, barely managing to keep her head above the surface. She struggles to pull herself out, soaked and trembling. As she looks back, she realizes the monster was only interested in Yeon-u. She's left alone in the ruins, wondering who would orchestrate such a targeted attack. The scene shifts to a high-level briefing room where military leaders are gathered. Justice reports that the entire country is falling into chaos, with crime and terrorism reaching uncontrollable levels. Justice explains that their investigative unit found one common cause behind all the recent chaos. He reveals that the unknown weapons are actually items from a game. Specifically, a game called Hero Fighters. The military officials in the room are completely baffled. One commander slams the table, calling it an absurd joke that doesn't belong in a high-security meeting. But this is the National Emergency Command Center, also known as the Ghost Shelter. The facility is the nation's highest security facility, crawling with armed guards. Justice calmly asks if they really think he would lie in a place like this. He tells them he brought proof and pulls out a glowing blue key. The officers look at the artifact with skepticism, thinking it's just a regular key. Justice explains that while it looks basic, it has the extraordinary power to open any door. He demonstrates its power, causing a surge of energy that warps the air around them. He declares that a new world has officially opened. With a sudden violent strike, the air itself seems to tear apart. Justice says it's only right to sweep away the old guard as blood paints the room. He announces that from now on, order will be decided by the power of items. Behind him, his elite champions from the Horizon Guild emerge from the shadows. They watch with cold indifference as the leaders of the old world are slaughtered. Justice is revealed to be the master of the Horizon Guild, and he's not taking prisoners. The room is filled with the bodies of the soldiers who tried to stand in his way. He makes it clear that in Horizon, losing an item is an unforgivable failure. The boy gamer champion laughs at the lawyer, calling him an idiot for being the first to screw up. The mummy champion asks why they haven't heard from B-Killer, and if No Mercy managed to take him out. Justice's mind is completely focused on one person, Yeon-u. He stares at the screen showing the unknown ring Yeon-u is wearing. It was supposed to be a disposable item that fulfilled its purpose after killing Kyan. He wonders why the hell it's still dangling right in front of him. The samurai champion says he doesn't care what the kid is carrying. It's got nothing to do with them. The boy gamer is a top-ranked champion himself, and he's just as dangerous as the rest. The samurai simply states that if the boy is a problem, they just need to kill him. The Spider-Woman champion admits that Justice gives her chills when he's like this. But she can't help but ask if she can get the first taste of their new prey. Justice doesn't care who does the job, as long as it gets done. He gives the final order, bring No Mercy to him immediately, dead or alive, now. Back at the site of the attack, the ground is pulverized by a massive force. The giant teddy bear monster celebrates, thinking it finally caught Yeon-u. But then it starts to panic, realizing something might be wrong. It worries that if Yeon-u actually died, its master will be absolutely furious. Meanwhile, Yeon-u is drifting through a bottomless white void, completely disoriented. He feels like every bit of strength is being sucked right out of his body. He looks at the rusted ring and realizes it went berserk, draining all his energy. His last thought is of his sister, Soyeon, and what will happen to her if he dies like this. Still, amidst the void, he remembers the times he spent with his sister, their laughter echoing in his mind. Suddenly, he feels a strange sensation. His body is fully healed and the pain is gone. He wonders if this is the end. A deep, echoing voice calls out his name, Yeon-u, vibrating through the emptiness. A massive, shifting black entity with a single, jagged red eye manifests in the void. It tells Yeon-u that his body now belongs to it. The entity commands him to live, declaring that it hasn't given him permission to die yet. It speaks of a true, eternal power that has yet to be fully awakened within him. The red eye glows with an intense, ominous light as it claims that his potential hasn't even begun to surface. Before Yeon-u can process this horror, he is jolted awake by a sharp reprimand. A young girl's voice shouts at him that it's no time to be sleeping. He blinks, disoriented, as he looks up to see his sister, Soyeon, standing over him with her hands on her hips. Was it all just a dream? Yeon-u's in the player's lounge, probably trying to mentally prepare for the biggest match of his career, but his sister is already nagging him about it being the finals. The announcement comes over the intercom for the finalists to get to the stage, and Soyeon starts shoving him out the door. Right then, this random girl pops out of nowhere, calling him No Mercy and practically vibrating with excitement. She's a massive fan, and she's already got her notebook out, begging for an autograph on the spot. She's talking a mile a minute, hyping him up as the tournament's dark horse who shut up all the doubters. She tells him that if he takes the trophy today, he's basically starting his own era in gaming history. Yeon-u's just standing there with a pen, completely lost as to who this girl even is. But security is on the job. One of the guards spots her and heads over to break up the party. As he grabs her, she starts desperately screaming that she's his little sister just so she can stay. The real Soyeon peeks out from behind Yeon-u with a totally unimpressed look, letting the guard know that she's the only sister here. The girl doesn't even blink. Immediately she switches her story and claims she's his cousin instead. The guard isn't having it. He drags her away while she's still yelling about her autograph and getting banned for life. With the lounge quiet again, Soyeon gives him a final cheer, telling him to just do what he always does out there. Yeon-u gives her a confident smile. Losing isn't even an option today. On the main stage, the atmosphere is electric as the announcer works the crowd into a frenzy for the final showdown. He's standing toe-to-toe with Volcano, the reigning rank 1 champion who seems more interested in trash-talking than playing. Volcano is already acting like the match is over, telling the rookie that he's hit his limit and it's time to pack it up. He's so cocky he's even got a victory party already booked, and he mockingly asks if Yeon-u wants to come along. He just laughs in his face, saying if Yeon-u actually wins, he'll throw him a massive feast himself. Fast forward and the unthinkable happens. The screen lights up with No Mercy win, and Volcano is left frozen in his chair. The announcer is losing it. The rank 1 champion just got dominated, and a new king has been crowned. Volcano loses his mind. He jumps up and points a finger, screaming that there's no way anyone could play like that without a specific build. He's absolutely convinced that Yeon-u exploited some kind of bug to get the win. Yeon-u doesn't flinch. He just looks him dead in the eye and tells him that if he's that much better, then he's the bug. That's the breaking point. Volcano tries to charge him, and the staff has to physically drag him away while he's losing it. He's still screaming his lungs out as they pull him off stage, unable to accept that he actually lost. Even as he's being hauled away, he's fuming, vowing to pay back this humiliation 100 times over. Yeon-u doesn't even care. He just watches him go, completely unfazed by the tantrum. He takes a moment to just soak in the sound of the arena. The entire crowd is on their feet, chanting his name so loud the stadium is practically shaking. Even Lana managed to get back into the stands, and she's cheering the loudest of them all. The announcer declares that the arena is literally on fire, with excitement for the new champ. Online communities are exploding too, with fans showing off the trending posts about his insane mechanics. Kids watching the stream are calling him a revolution for winning an item-based game with pure skill. Everyone's agreeing that unlike Volcano, this guy didn't need any cheap tricks to reach the top. The chant "No Mercy" just keeps echoing through the stadium, drowning out everything else. He raises a hand to the crowd as the announcer calls him a hero. He's actually smiling, finally feeling like he's made it as the award ceremony begins. The announcer introduces a legendary figure from the gaming world to come up and present the trophy. The guest reaches out for a formal handshake, and Yeon-u goes to accept, but suddenly everything feels weird. In a split second, the man's hand starts flickering and distorting into a mess of digital noise. Yeon-u's own vision starts to tear apart, with glitches and colors bleeding into his eyes as reality fractures. Right as Han Yeon-u is about to take the award, everything starts blurring out, and the guy reaching for his hand asks if he's okay. It's too late. His vision completely fails, leaving him in total darkness. He tries to force his eyes open, but he's stuck staring through narrow slits into nothingness. A high-pitched voice tells him to wake up, and suddenly a pink face is staring right back at him. It's the teddy bear monster, and it's shouting in his face for him to finally snap out of it. Yeon-u scrambles back, terrified to find a giant, living toy standing over him. He looks around and realizes the bear has somehow shrunk, while it continues to announce his awakening at the top of its lungs. He's not in the arena anymore. He's in a sterile, high-tech lab filled with blue lights and futuristic monitors. The reality of the situation starts to sink in as he looks at the equipment surrounding him. A man's voice breaks the silence, identifying the place as the lab where the VR game was made, and Yeon-u turns to find a stranger standing there. Before he can even ask what's going on, the man reaches out toward him. Without even using any obvious power, he reached out and jerked Yeon-u forward, catching the former champion completely off guard. He's not interested in a handshake. His eyes are locked on the rusted ring on Yeon-u's finger. Yeon-u recognizes him immediately. The scar on his neck and that smile are unmistakable. This is the man who started it all, the genius programmer behind Hero Fighters. Dennis H. Wang, the president of Oz Soft, calls Yeon-u master and admits he didn't expect a reunion like this. He stands there calmly, but there's an underlying tension as he holds onto Yeon-u's arm. He drops the polite act and gets serious, warning him that they're practically out of time. Yeon-u's heart drops as Dennis reveals the dark truth about the artifact on his hand. The rusted ring reacts violently, erupting with a murderous voice and black energy that sends Yeon-u into a world of agonizing pain. Machine hums as the lights flicker in the server room. Yeon-u drops to his knees, his body giving out under the pressure. He screams in pain as shadow energy from the ring starts to overflow. Dennis H. Wang watches calmly, while Kuma looks absolutely terrified. Dennis explains that an optimization patch has arrived way ahead of schedule. Yeon-u gasps for air, having no idea what kind of nonsense the guy is talking about. Dennis gets right in his face and asks if he's ever seen a game update before. He says Earth has finished syncing with the game world and is starting its own update. And in any update, the first step is to get rid of the bugs. He points right at the Ring of Eternity on Yeon-u's finger. He asks if Yeon-u hasn't felt that terrifying power for himself yet. A shadow of the ring's true form looms, a predator built to annihilate everything. It's not just some legendary item, it's an entity trying to devour the entire world. A glitch that has completely shattered the balance of reality. And because Yeon-u is the one holding it, he's considered contaminated. Which means he's now officially been marked for deletion. Yeon-u snaps and tells him to quit playing around. He lunges forward and grabs Dennis by the collar, demanding he fix the game. But Dennis drops a bombshell. He didn't actually create the game world. The world Yeon-u has been playing in all this time wasn't just digital code. It's actually a real, physical dimension called Enos. The VR game was just a bridge used to connect the two worlds together. Dennis admits he just borrowed the dimension for his game, never thinking it would spill over like this. Yeon-u realizes his own actions are why the real world is currently falling apart. Dennis explains that the boss fight against Kyan was originally intended to be impossible. But Yeon-u won anyway, and that victory caused the two worlds to start merging. Basically, the two of them are the ones who created this mess. The ring's energy starts lashing out again, darker than before. A massive eye stares out from the shadows of the ring's will. Yeon-u screams in agony as Dennis decides it's finally time. He pulls out the Constellation trophy and tells Yeon-u to take it. If he holds it, he'll be transported to the dimension of Enos to escape deletion. It's a holy relic that can teleport the user regardless of where they are. Yeon-u is livid, asking what he's even supposed to do over there. Dennis admits that even he doesn't know. He's just the developer opening the gate. The strategy to survive is up to the player. Yeon-u realizes he's trapped, stay and be deleted or jump into the unknown. Having no other choice, he reaches out for the glowing trophy. As soon as his hand touches the metal, it activates with a snap. Teal light flares from the relic, spiraling around his body. Yeon-u's eye wide in shock as his physical form starts to break apart. He disintegrates into digital data, leaving Earth behind for a new reality. Dennis H. Wang's final words echo in the server room as the teleportation light fades. He knows Yeon-u might wander for eternity, but it's the only way he survives. Dennis looks out at the chaos, hoping the young man will return to rebuild this ruined reality. A massive burst of energy signals the end of their conversation and the start of a new journey. Cut to the city, where the skyscrapers stand silent against a pale blue sky. Down on the streets, massive paw-shaped craters have turned the asphalt into a disaster zone. On a nearby rooftop, Lana is stressed out and trying to figure out their next move. She's certain that stuffed animal monster was summoned specifically to hunt down Yeon-u. Soyeon finally wakes up and regains her bearings after the previous struggle. She looks a bit dazed, explaining that the monster hit her hard enough to knock her out cold. Lana can't help but tease her, calling it pathetic for someone with legendary items to go down so easily. Soyeon ignores the jab and immediately demands to know where her brother went. Lana delivers the bad news. That monster swallowed Yeon-u and completely disappeared. Soyeon is absolutely stunned, her world shattering in an instant. She immediately tries to bolt, screaming her brother's name at the top of her lungs. Lana grabs her and tries to talk some sense into her, knowing they can't just run off blindly. She points out that Yeon-u is already far outside their search area, and searching now would just be suicide. She tries to reassure the panicked girl that Yeon-u is strong, and they need a solid plan before moving. Suddenly, a red glint reflects off Lana's earring, catching her attention. She realizes they're being targeted by a legendary sniper item called Night Talon. The realization hits that the sniper didn't retreat and is still actively hunting them. Lana screams for Soyeon to get down just as a shot rings out across the rooftop. Soyeon is sent flying as the high-powered round tears right through her. From a distance, the scarred sniper laughs, calling them idiots for thinking he'd just walk away. He gloats through his scope, planning to finish them both off before going after Yeon-u. Lana is in total shock, looking down at the massive, bloody hole in Soyeon's stomach. Soyeon urges Lana to run, promising she can heal herself if she just has a moment. A teal glow surrounds Soyeon as her passive healing kicks in, but Lana is frozen in fear. The sniper's voice booms over the area, telling them there's absolutely nowhere left to hide. He boasts about never letting his prey escape a second time as he lines up another shot. A sudden movement interrupts him. Someone is closing in fast from behind. Lana clenches her teeth, certain that this is the end for both of them. A silver blur streaks through the air with predatory speed. Blood sprays as the sniper's legendary rifle is ripped right out of his grasp. A man in a terrifying white wolf mask slams into the sniper with a lethal strike. The impact is massive, sending the shooter crashing into the concrete with a sickening thud. The sniper slumps against the wall, coughing up blood as he realizes it's over. Lana stares in disbelief at the mysterious stranger who just saved them. The masked man stands over the dying sniper and picks up the Night Talon rifle. With a flick of his wrist, he stores the legendary weapon directly into his digital inventory. He stands tall, revealing the name of his S-rank equipment, Valkyrin's mask. A red HUD inside the mask scans Lana, identifying the high-value items she's carrying. Lana feels a chill as the red HUD on the wolf mask locks onto her. It's analyzing her Aluna's Abyss jewelry, nodding she's got a two-piece set. She panics, realizing her psychic abilities are completely useless against this guy. The intruder looks down at her through the glowing eyes of his mask, murmuring her name. Lana's eyes go wide. She has no idea how this stranger knows who she is. He reaches out towards her, but the moment is shattered by a sudden, violent interruption. A blur of silver hair and steel swings a heavy guitar weapon right at the masked man's head. Shin Jae-wo barely manages to duck, the massive blade whistling inches above his mask. He slides back across the rooftop, his red eyes glowing as he reassesses the new threat. Kang Chan stands there, clutching his head and groaning about a massive headache. He's completely fed up, first dealing with a giant pink bear and now a guy in a dog mask. He brandishes his bladed guitar, threatening to toss both animals into the zoo. The wolf mask lets out a low growl, radiating a dangerous predatory aura. Kang Chan stands his ground, the electricity crackling around his weapon as he readies for a fight. They lock eyes, one pair glowing red, the other a sharp, intense gold. Neither of them flinches, the tension on the rooftop reaching a boiling point. Kang Chan demands to know what kind of freak he's dealing with. Lana figures he's just another item looter, especially after seeing him finish off the sniper. She remembers how he called her name, wondering if she really heard it right. Kang Chan is more concerned with the guy's power, nodding he can't feel a single bit of a vibe from him. The masked figure hunches over, looking exactly like a beast right before it pounces. Soyeon runs over to Lana, having healed her wounds, and checks if she's okay. Kang Chan shouts over his shoulder, asking where the hell Yeon-u disappeared to. Lana explains that the giant bear monster literally carried him off into nowhere. Kang Chan tells her not to worry too much, knowing Yeon-u isn't the type to just die easily. Soyeon is still terrified, wondering why anyone would want to take her brother. Lana mentions that Horizon must have summoned the bear specifically to target him. Kang Chan's head snaps toward her, having never heard of this Horizon group before. Before they can explain, the wolf-masked man lunges forward like a literal bolt of lightning. His speed is terrifying, shattering the concrete as he rockets across the rooftop. Kang Chan barely has time to react, shocked that someone can move that fast. He tries to swing his guitar, but the masked man is already past him, targeting Lana. Shin Jae-wo grabs Lana's wrist, his grip like iron. Kang Chan roars for him to get his hands off her, and swings his guitar with everything he's got. In the chaos, the wolf mask falls away, revealing a man with copper hair and an obsessive look in his eyes. He spits on the name of Horizon, calling them a cowardly guild of looters and murderers. He tells Lana that he only came here to save her from scums like them. He pulls her clothes, his expression shifting into something deeply unsettling and affectionate. A strange, hazy image of the two of them dancing appears, as if he's lost in a memory. He whispers that she's gotten even more beautiful since the last time he saw her. Soyeon watches from the side, completely weirded out and wondering if this guy is an acquaintance. High above them, a strange, flickering blue light starts to rip through the sky. Shin Jae-wo looks absolutely drained, his eyes sunken as he questions if this is really the end. The scene shifts to some time earlier, inside a dimly lit facility labeled VR7. On the monitor, a prompt blinks, asking if he's sure he wants to delete his level 90 account. The staff member behind the counter notes that Shin Jae-wo has been a diligent regular for over a month. He tries to talk him out of it, pointing out that throwing away an account with legendary gear is a massive waste. Shin Jae-wo breaks down in tears, declaring that the game has lost all meaning without Lana. A painful memory flashes back, Lana screaming that she doesn't know him and shoving him away. He's convinced that some kind of strange hypnosis made her completely forget who he was. He falls to his knees in the middle of the cafe, wailing and making a complete scene. Desperate to escape the pain, he shouts that he's throwing away everything that reminds him of her. He leans over the counter, his face a mess of tears and snot as he demands the account be gone. The staff member can only watch in awkward silence as Jae-wo continues to sob her name. Suddenly, the deletion screen begins to glitch, distorted by red digital artifacts and flickering light. The system grinds to a halt, leaving the staff member staring in total confusion. Chaos erupts in the cafe as other players scream about their screens going blank during important quests. The employee panics, begging everyone to wait while he tries to figure out what went wrong. Jae-wo suddenly stands up, boasting that he can fix it because he's an expert at the game. The staff member tells him to just be quiet, reminding him he was just trying to quit a second ago. Jae-wo ignores him, smugly suggesting they go grab some tea while the system resets. Without warning, a violent surge of blue energy rips through the terminal with a deafening crackle. Everyone recoils in terror as the air itself seems to tear apart in a flash of blinding light. Floating in the center of the discharge is a physical glowing artifact, the secret silver key. Jae-wo stares at the ornate key in his hand, realization hitting him that his game world has just crossed into reality. Suddenly, a woman laughs like a maniac, while everyone around her looks on in total confusion. The rumors were true after all. Right in the middle of the gaming lounge, massive black spider limbs start bursting out of a woman's back while the crowd watches in total shock. This is the manifestation of Kalisha, the Spider Queen, and she's already celebrating a legendary S-grade drop. The brand of Kalisha is a cursed legacy that ensures anyone who falls for her charm ends up as a predatory offering. The people around him are freaked out, watching a woman literally crawl out of the game with giant spider legs on her back. Kalisha licks her lips, zeroing in on Jae-wo as her very first prey in the real world. Her massive, jagged limbs twitch as she prepares to strike. Jae-wo freezes up, staring at the nightmare unfolding right in front of him. The Spider Queen lunges, her limbs slicing through the air as digital energy crackles around her. Jae-woo reacts instinctively, shoving people out of the way while shouting for them to watch out. He actually starts laughing, thinking he's finally getting that big, heroic sacrifice moment he always fantasized about. He stares death in the face, wondering if today is finally the day he goes out in a blaze of glory. He closes his eyes, deciding that if this is how it ends, it's not such a bad way to go. A massive explosion of light and glitching pixels fills the room as someone lets out a final scream. He opens his eyes to find himself still alive, all because he failed to delete his account in time. He's collapsed on the floor in his wolf mask, realizing he narrowly escaped a brutal death. Behind him, Kalisha is busy using her ingestion skill to absorb the life force of everyone she just caught. The pixelated blood on the floor makes it sink in. The cruelty from the game is officially his new reality. Kalisha turns around, looking almost impressed that the kid is still breathing. She towers over him, nodding that he must have some seriously strong gear to survive her opening attack. She decides to let him slide for now, claiming they've both been reborn on this chaotic day. She turns to leave, promising they'll cross paths again soon. Her plan is simple: devour every single player and item in this new world. Jae-woo realizes that was the moment he first saw Lana, and decided he had to protect her. Back in the present, he unmasks himself, looking absolutely devastated that she doesn't even remember him. He drops to his knees, explaining how anxious he was that he'd be too late to save her. Lana and Soyeon just exchange a look, having absolutely no clue what this guy is talking about. Kang Chan cuts through the drama, asking who actually took Yeon-u if it wasn't Jae-woo's group. Soyeon holds up her artifact, asking the unmasked man if he knows anything about a massive pink stuffed bear. She tries to use logic, saying that since they're both animals, Jae-woo should probably know the monster. Jae-woo mentions he knows a guy who's an expert at searching for things, making the girls light up instantly. He tries to play it cool, acting like they aren't friends and he has no reason to help. Soyeon switches tactics immediately, clasping her hands and telling him he's actually a super kind person deep down. Jae-woo starts blushing hard, stammering about how they're probably just trying to trick him. Lana decides to lean into it, brushing her hair back and pretending she suddenly remembers him. She brings up a club they were both at, looking him dead in the eye. She claims he was the one person there who actually made her heart race. Jae-woo is losing his mind, calling her a liar while clearly being totally weak to the attention. Lana gets right in his face, grabbing his scarf and pulling him close. She lowers her voice, looking at him with a total honey trap expression. She whispers that if he gives her what she wants, she'll give him what he wants too.